My family, the Yagami clan, once reigned supreme. Its legacy entwined with the eternal symbol of fire. But fire alone does not define its power. Beneath the radiant glow lay a secret, a shadow unseen by the eyes of the world. On the day when the flames of our clan were extinguished, my elder brother chose the path of silence, bearing the weight alone. But I swore to fight back. Why did you do this? The fire blazes with light, but the shadow fuels the fight. My family, the Yagami clan, once reigned supreme. Its legacy entwined with the eternal symbol of fire. But fire alone does not define its power. Beneath the radiant glow lay a secret, a shadow unseen by the eyes of the world. On the day when the flames of our clan were extinguished, my elder brother chose the path of silence, bearing the weight alone. But I swore to fight back.
Why did you do this?
The fire blazes with light, but the shadow fuels the fight. My family, the Yagami clan, once reigned supreme. Its legacy entwined with the eternal symbol of fire. But fire alone does not define its power. Beneath the radiant glow lay a secret, a shadow unseen by the eyes of the world. On the day when the flames of our clan were extinguished, my elder brother chose the path of silence, bearing the weight alone. But I swore to fight back.
Why did you do this?
The fire blazes with light, but the shadow fuels the fight.
Welcome all survivors. Once again, the Free Fire World Series continues here in Southeast Asia. The fall season of 2025 begins once more. My name is Getting Q. This is Husky here at the desk here for day number 2 after an exciting day number 1.
It's time to strike and rise and see who will represent us to the world stage in another exciting installation of the new format that we have tried and tested at both Spring and EWC. And I gotta say, after yesterday, seems like Indonesia still takes the cake so far.
I mean, they're looking so good right now, considering, you know, they're showing on the world stage, they're showing in their local stages as well. This feels like the meta is really suited for what they want to do. But guys, don't forget to stay energized here. Red Bull, Zinc, and Vitamin from Thailand is supplemented with Zinc B3 and B6, featuring a mild taste that helps players stay highly focused and seizes every opportunity to achieve that stylish Booyah victory. So once again, thank you Red Bull for sponsoring both the spring and as well as the fall.
They've been an amazing partner. I finally got the chance to try their new flavors, and I gotta say, zero sugar, that is right up my lane. Flavors are great, so thank you very much, Red Bull, also keeping our players energized to deliver the best possible gameplay.
Hey, you love that mild taste. You know what they say about it. Hey, with everything that has happened, hopefully you guys are going to be a little more interested about the predictions for the top 3. After yesterday, we will be having Group B once again with the addition of Group C, but I'm going EVOS Falcons, which I think you agree. But the big difference here is Bigatron by Vitality and WAG for Husky.
Yeah, and this is purely based off of the recent All-Star Ninja clash. You know, I think a lot of people probably forgot about the Vietnamese region just because they didn't qualify for EWC, and it is not wrong that WAG warmed up very slowly towards the end of spring, but I still believe that right now they are one of the best teams that Vietnam has produced alongside teams like Esports, so I'm willing to give them another shot.
I don't know about that because I'm feeling like Vietnam right now are extra eager this particular season coming this fall because they didn't qualify for the international. None of their teams ended up showing on that global stage, which is a little surprising to see. Usually we get one or two of them because this time around they're going to be looking for that big prize pool of 100,000 just by being the Battle Royale mode champion.
Yeah, 100,000, and if you finish second, you lose $60,000 right off the bat. But every single day, we will have a reward for Team of the Day. That's an extra $250, and for the Grand Final MVP, the person gets to walk away with an extra $4,000. So there's incentive for everyone to give it their all.
Everybody's going to be trying their best. And let's look at the tournament timeline here. For those of you who have been watching all the way since spring, thank you and also welcome back. The knockout stage will be held for the first 2 weeks, and then we'll get into the first place qualifiers from week 3 onwards. It's going to be very similar to what we saw last season.
Absolutely, and it's also a lot more forgiving than the previous format we had prior to 2025. Now, a lot of teams will have a better fighting chance, especially when we look at the last chance qualifiers, where the bottom 12 teams get to duke it out for the remaining 6 spots. And for those that need a better and simpler illustration of how the knockout stage works, with 18 teams participating, they will be divided into 3 groups of 6, and each day matches are played between 2 groups. We had A and B yesterday, today will be B and C, tomorrow we get A and C. There will be a total of 36 matches played during this phase, and after week 2, teams will be ranked from 1st to 18th based on total points.
It's the normal tournament format you're expected to see here at the knockout stage. But just in case, for those of you who are new to what's all this, what's going on with the days and the teams playing and the system, don't worry, we got you covered. From week 3 onwards, 6 teams, the first team of the day will essentially get an opportunity to go straight into the grand finals. And throughout those weeks, teams that are placed in 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 will eventually get added on. Keep in mind that the rankings begin during week 2. Now, for the last chance qualifiers, top 6 teams of that last 12 will just have to duke it out the good old-fashioned way, right? And as we look at the point system, at least nothing has changed.
Yep, the holy covenant of competitive Free Fire, we still stick with 12 points per booyah, all the way down to 0 if you finish in the bottom 2, and elimination gives 1 point each. And it has worked out so well, so good so far. Eliminations have been the pivotal point of competitive Free Fire, and it has produced some of the craziest games we've seen.
We're incentivized to make sure that you guys get action, and the only way to do that is through eliminations. But in case there is tiebreakers, we got our tiebreaker rules, which is in the following order: number of booyahs, total eliminations, and finally survival rank for the final round.
And so far, we haven't had the need to apply tiebreaker rules, but just in case, if our teams get too good one day, we will have to come down to this. And that's why eliminations are extra important, because that would make the difference between a team qualifying and dropping out of contention. With that being said, we also are applying the one unique active skill rule, where every player has to use an active skill, and each player in the team needs to use a different active skill, with the exception of duplicates being from in-game pickups.
Now, only introduced within this year, it's already shaken up the Free Fire meta when it comes down to your just active use cards and also just your raw setups. The roles are a lot more defined this time around, coming into this first year of the one unique active skill meta, and it's been a lot of fun. Now, the Grand Finals format. For those of you who don't know, Champion Rush is still in play. Teams with 80 points or 80 plus points enters the Champion Rush. And to win the Champion Rush, you must find a booyah immediately after achieving those points. If no team gets a booyah in the Champion Rush by game 10, the highest points in the overall standings will become champion.
Yeah, so one way or another, we will crown a champion by the end of the Grand Finals. And if any of you guys out there have watched EWC, you know what Peak Champion Rush Grand Finals is all about. Today's team list will be from Group B and Group C. From Group B, we have Onyx Olympus, Toda, Esports, Feral, Evil's Divine, WAG. And for Group C, we got Team Flash, Bigatron by Vitality, Expand, God of Wolf, Team Falcons, and Kagendra.
It's really exciting to see some of these newer teams and newer faces even start to show up here in the Esports World Series. I think that at least we've seen a lot of Group B already itself, and honestly some pretty shocking performances overall. In case you guys who haven't been a little aware, Todak is currently sitting in the 2nd spot, surprisingly enough, but let's see whether or not that's going to progress, because teams like PE is also known to do pretty well in the beginning stages of the tournament.
Yeah, and PE Sports, in fact, have, I think, surprised a lot of people just with their opening debut. We also cannot forget about our spring champions, Onyx Olympus, who have made a slight roster change with, Putra and Calvin Teasy coming in as the new players. But for teams like EVOS, who literally came off a 300 grand Esports World Cup win, they keep the same roster. And then you have Bigatron, who also made some changes, with Juan and Rin coming in as the new faces. Overall, it's a good mixed bag of veterans and newbies, with Kagendra being the newest addition.
Obviously, we've also got Falcons, the ones that we thought were going to be favored coming into our last international at the EWC, but unfortunately didn't go all the way. They did put up a strong performance, and they haven't really changed their lineup at all still. And of course, not forgetting Peter this time.
Yep. Thankfully, he has been funnily enough, I think even during the recent All-Star Ninja Clash, there was a content on Team Falcons, and once more Peter was forgotten.
Oh, no!
In fact, they labeled Limit as on fire, so it was pretty hilarious, but it's good to see that, Falcons are still sticking together. They have a lot to prove, especially, after EWC in front of the home crowd, where they didn't even qualify for grand finals. This fall season is going to be a redemption arc.
It definitely is, right? And now, again, I'm going to be saying hi to all the newer members after watching EWC, and the ones closest to our time zone, Bangladesh, and as well as Sri Lanka and India. Hello to all the viewers out there who are just tuning into the show. Hopefully our map 1 is going to be interesting. Oh, which reminds me, keep in mind, everybody, that the maps every single day is going to be randomized, so we don't really know what the order of which the maps are going to be coming out in.
Ever since the introduction of Solara, we have already gotten rid of the randomizers to ensure that we get a unique experience every single day. But the fact that the sequence is randomized makes it even more exciting, because teams now have to really prep for multiple different kinds of scenario, right? We're so used to starting with Bermuda, so teams come in with the classic opener, but right now we could start with Solara, and some teams might be thrown off their game, and hopefully that's not going to be the case. It's good to see, EVO's Divine just feeling a lot more confident. As always, the atmosphere looks pretty good. We got the new flavored Red Bull can on the desk of the players as well. As you can see, both of them are pretty tasty if you're into low sugar content, zero sugar content, in fact, for energy drink.
I think that's what everybody's been looking out for, right? What exactly is the energy drink that's not going to raise my calorie count too much, but still helps me progress through my day without having to resort to coffee? Now, overall, for the Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia, we have seen teams be extremely aggressive, but I don't know whether this is going to be a repeat of spring, right? Which is my biggest worry. Are we going to see any big meta shifts within this small time period, or is it purely just refinement?
I think for now it's primarily on refinement. We did have patch OB50. There were some minor changes that I don't necessarily think had too big of an impact overall. And sure, one of the more sought after guns, the M590, did get a bit of a tweak, slower reload time, but higher threshold for minimum damage, so it demands more accuracy from the users. But overall, I think it's still going to be the gun to go for if you're not using the M1887. Aside from that, you got the usual AWM. I think the variety probably comes from the one unique active skill, right? Like, we had so many different combinations of team comps. Some teams are using Steffi, some teams, like the Brazilian teams of Lost, tend to stick to Tatsuya, even though the rest of Southeast Asia have moved on from that character, and it's a matter of how much more can the teams explore.
Well, speaking of exploring, our game schedule for today, we're going to be having 6 full maps, starting with Xterra, then Purgatory, then Bermuda, Kalahari, Solara, and then we end on Alpine. So, interestingly enough, we're not going to go with our usual format of the Bermudas into Purgatories. Xterra, the city of the future, to kick us off for today.
And that is, I think that itself is a very good neutral point to start. A lot of the teams are used to the classic maps, like Bermuda, the usual Bermuda, Purgatory and all. But Xterra is always one of the few maps I think that most teams generally don't have too much of an advantage over others, except maybe for Bigatron by Vitality. They are a lot more comfortable on Xterra. But in the broader scheme of things, most teams usually achieve neutral results on that map, and it's a good way to shake things up for the start of day 2.
Yeah, and that's, you know, speaking of which, Solara is now becoming part of like the staple lineup of the 6 itself. It's going to be a map that a lot of teams are going to have to get good at some point. It's not like a surprise map to be expected. But hey, with that being said, with everything that has been on, it's time to start making our way into our very first map to kick off day 2 here at Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia fall season. We're already looking ahead of time. We're heading over to the city that primarily focuses on it, Nextera.
It's the next generation of architecture and technology. Most importantly, we also are able to have these players showcase the latest collaboration with your favorite childhood anime, Naruto. So if anyone is a fan of that anime, this is a great time to be a Free Fire fan. Drop spots haven't really changed though, although for Evo's heading to Graph Lab, that is definitely a bit of a development since last time we saw them at EWC.
Yeah, a bit of a change up here. Intellect Center going to be taken by BTR. PR has taken Museum, and now we're looking for teams who are immediately going to get into collisions with each other. It's going to be Kagendra alongside WAG.
A lot of times for newer teams that show up, they usually still get to take time to get used to these common drop spots, but Kagendra off to a decent start, ended up trading bodies and losing one of their own. Fortunately, no one there to collect Cyrus, so WAG gets to recover their teammate, and Kagendra have lost the opening fight.
Yeah, and that's not exactly too good of a look for Kagendra, right? They need to be able to recover from this, but while this fight is going on, looks like Kodak as well as GOW are currently in odds at with each other as well. He's got to make sure to land these shots, but he's already got the Cassie on him to protect him, forcing out that glue wall and immediately looking to close off the angle.
And seems like he's willing to fight this as well. You take the extended fight, you get a knockdown, Tatsuya gets reset it, and then suddenly that snowball effects will get going. But Kagendra are doing a pretty good job of doubling up, but they run into X4 instead with the P90 in hand. X4 ends up taking out both of them with the help of PSL1, and Kagendra now only left with one survivor, CT7 on the roof.
He's hiding there. I'm not sure whether he's able to get his teammates back up in that time or whether or not he's got the resources considering that he's on the roof. Now, he might be able to find an initial pick here. The vending machine is right smack in the center, and WAG, they're just crawling over that POI, and PLS1 does spot him on the roof, will take the shots, doesn't have a long-range weapon to go straight for the headshot. No scopes as well. Got to do it the good old-fashioned way.
And I don't think CT7 has enough points to get a revive. There's literally a vending machine right there if he makes that leap of faith, but WAG with that information, more than enough for them to confirm CT7's location. It's only a matter of time before Kagendra gets wiped out in 12th spot. Every single angle covered by WAG.
What?
And yeah, just taking the time. I don't think CT7 is going anywhere.
Yeah, he's not, but now quickly caught over Falcon thirding. Oh, Kagendra ends up being eliminated as soon. We didn't want to watch the execution at the very end. Thanks to our observers keeping it PG-13. Falcons, now, this is a third coming in against GOW and as well as their early fight against Todak. And it looks like going pretty well for the Falcons, right? Having not to revive any of their members, finding 2 eliminations already, and Trap still here, really pincering GOW in a tight spot.
They might even run into Evos. In fact, Coach Hugh did end up taking Cyrus out of the equation, so WAG needs to kind of find a pit stop first. They never really had much time to stock up after the earlier contact made with Kagendra. And just Rasya, quick snipe onto PLS1. You can never count this Wonder Kid out.
Wonder Kid still doing work for now. Come back to the 3-way battle here. GOW. Last few members still. Demon trying to buy as much time as possible as Noki. Now back with Todak after getting loaned for EWC. Taking control of the POIs is always a good idea, but if it gets collapsed down, could mean an attack from Falcons. They quickly take him out. The shotgun is still relevant. You just gotta have the accuracy. Keroro ain't happy about this. Sees the kill get stolen away from him. He can't do much about it. Throws the Riptide Rhythm, and you see Falcons just making sure they control the height of the area before making their way down.
There goes the UAV as well, shot out by Team Falcons. Now it comes up to where Limit is positioned at. Seems like Falcons have a lot of long-range coverage. Vitality, well, Bigatron by Vitality in the vicinity too. Those gunshots are going to end up attracting another third party. With Trap and Noki being taken out, Trap gets revived. Falcons, if they can make quick work of Todak, they might still have some time to stock up and resupply for the next contact. Keroro finds fires, and Peter will confirm that one.
Finds it quick. Got to make sure these interactions are fast. Don't want to give it an opportunity unless they want to let this team hunt this team down to farm up some elimination points. I'm pretty sure Peter spotted his... Yep, he notices it. He sees the shoe sticking out of the door, and Videls goes for the 1v1, quickly dashes through the blue wall. Instantly, On Fire comes up to follow up. Good kills here for the side of Falcons.
Too many bodies to take care of. Todak still in the game. They were able to, I think, revive Traps early on, so he did end up relocating with the drop. Expand also having to go for a couple of revives on their own. WAG fully recovers. At the end of the day, Cyrus still didn't get taken out. He only got incapacitated. They did bring him back up, so they escape Evil's Divine, and they now make it to Intellect Center, gets a purchaser from the vending machine, sends out a UAV just in case anyone is to the north side, which I think, according to the radar, should be clear of any threats. WAG on a solid start.
Very solid start indeed. Still running the Tatsuya on their side. I'm wondering if they also have an Oscar alongside to make the lineup really aggressive, but we'll find out later. As On Fire get picked off here by Adam on the opposite end, forcing a quick revive onto On Fire, but Falcons need to reposition. They've already got 5 eliminations as we see Limit at least throwing Suppressing Fire back and even finds a trade.
That should give Onyx Olympus a bit of a warning shot if they decide to continue pursuing this. They have someone taking up that freeway on top, which could give them an advantage, but Falcons are relocating. That could be Limit being sent out far and wide just to get more intel. WAG reunites with Evil's Divine right now at Intellect Center. It seems like Evil's Divine have caught up, and this could be a 4v4.
Intellect Center is looking very hot right now. We see that Expand is down south, far from the action, but could hear the gunshots and make their way over. WAG doesn't have a lot of play space, and Quay, currently in a really tough spot, has to use the Rebel Rush to get on out of there, repositioning towards the stairs, but the rest of his teammates can cover him. As they already find Cochil, they're looking for that top spot and straight away as they get walled off. Evo's Divine making sure that there's not enough space for them to actually take, leaving Cochil left to dry. There's no way to pick him back up without taking some damage. They're going to try still, making sure that they have a double flanker set up ready. Ray is able to pull the attention as we see the rest of the members from Tigray start moving forward. Aim God is able to bring back his teammates in a time as they lose out the clash.
I feel like Evil's Divine should have made a decisive call whether to take that fight or to retreat. They really were trying to get the teammates back up, and maybe with the Diva, that would have worked out, but unfortunately that was not the case. A kill or to put out onto Russia too. So they definitely know where he is. His back is sent towards X-Board. 2 shots would do the job. Russia gets knocked down. This should be the elimination of Evil's Divine. Unless they found a couple of revives. Seems like that is the case. So Evil's Divine not back just yet. Imgon managed to make an escape. Evil's Divine lives on. But WAG have 9 points under their belt.
They do, and their setup having 2 ways to kind of jump on in, having the Oscar alongside of the Tatsuya makes it really difficult to have stable information. And I think that's what Evil's Divine was trying to figure out. After their first member got picked off, they're looking for the recovery. They tend to play a little bit more passive in the 3v4 type situation. But man, WAG really showing their fangs.
They really are, and that's why I put my faith in them. But I want to see that long term, right? Right now, game 1, they can have a good game 1, but in the long run, I hope WAG keeps this up. PLS1 and X4 have been phenomenal members of the team, with PLS1 being the latest addition, and he's already showing some great results. But on the other hand, with Expand finding a freebie onto Kochio, Evil's Divine continues to struggle this round.
Expand gets a freebie this time, a good elimination point to secure for them. They've been hovering around Farmtopia for a while. They heard the initial gunshots. They stayed on the outer part of it, and now they're looking to gatekeep. Because now we finally get into that second ring, and it's starting to progress into the third. As we see, once again, we're just following WAG just kind of mow through the lobby so far.
Yeah, not sure if they spotted that Evil's gonna get revived. But Onyx, they also get themselves a freebie. That's Aim God gone. So this revival game for Evos continues. Kind of a reenactment of what happened at EWC in the second half since they activated Champion Rush. Always tested by the games itself, where they have to play from behind. But this could be too much of a deficit to recover from. 9 minutes in, and they still have not found their footing.
Yeah, they really have it. We do see that Kyung gets an initial shot on towards Traps. I think that Traps has already been revived like 2 times this game already. As Noki as well, coming in from Juan, off screen, getting shot at. At this point of time, we see the teams now finally slowing down. Like again, action from the get-go, right from round number 1, and eventually it lapses into the second ring. And as we see this start to close in, you would imagine that the teams are trying to figure out and start scouting positions for the final spots.
This is why I think a lot of people don't miss the 0 Free Fire when revives was still not a thing. We would have cut down the team by half at this point if you can't bring your teammates back. Export still has a kill order on him for 1.5 minutes, but WAG are going to run straight into Team Flash. And this is the first encounter they have this game. Team Flash laying low for majority of the round up to this point, but judging by their location, this could be a full-blown fight.
Looks like it is going to be a full-blown fight. The third ring has already been opened on, and WAG, is this worth dying for? I'm not entirely sure, right? Because they're not 100% sure what's going on behind Team Flash, or who else is kind of scouting the positions. They do have the bounty on top of them, and they know it's currently on X4. Just don't know from where. At this point, now Death forced to quickly wall himself up. They're trying to make sure that they keep control over the highway for the time being. And now that they're noticing that the rest of the shots aren't actually coming from them, they identify where the shots are coming from. It's from Falcons' back as well. WAG, they lose their snipers and their entire backline. TK and as well as Cyrus, they've got to play around the naturally built cover from Flash.
That is just unfortunate because they had a good idea on how to break Flash's defense wide open. In fact, they achieved that with the help of Export and PLS1. They just did not expect Falcons to come in from behind and wipe their numbers up, wipe out their numbers by half. In fact, they might end up going to Coach Yu. Cyrus does not know. Coach Yu springs into life, but there is TK to back up his partner, so Evil's Divine ends up paying the ultimate price out in 10th place.
Just no resources, and unfortunately for Flash, they meet the exact same fate. Not enough resources, Flash getting jumped on by WAG. It wasn't really worth fighting out in the open. I personally feel like it's not, but then again, didn't know what exactly WAG was running with. Let's see, because right now, they're still holding the highest number of eliminations in this squad as Falcons want to steal that spot by taking them out. They see the landmines on the floor. They don't want to be inside.
TK was able to down on fire, but it's a 1v3, a tall order even for the best of players, and in this case TK is somehow making it work. Guerrero with the grenade launcher doesn't connect, but Limit will, and WAG out in 9th without claiming a single player from Falcons.
Oh, do they have enough time to actually regroup before Onyx actually jumps on top of them from the highway itself? Now we go to a 3-way battle here. Looks like, unfortunately, PR getting blasted on by BTR, and as well as God of Wolf, who managed to survive up till this point.
BTR as well, I think, haven't really made too much of a noise. 4 points at the start. But this 3-way fight is them, Pharaoh and GOW, especially Pharaoh, who are in a very interesting position. Ever since that they were known as Core Memory in spring, they head to EWC looking to have a good chance at least being a top contender, but that only extended up to Point Rush. Grand Finals wasn't really where Pharaoh or the ex-Core Memory shine, and right now with the same roster, they try to change their narrative. Fires from Wei takes out Koja, and that might just set up a chain reaction, because with Koda willing to stick that finger into this, BTR will try to rush expand.
And they're trying to clear out this bottom side. Juan is doing a great job on top of Koja, just eliminating the squad lightning fast. Blitzkrieg tactics deployed on the bottom floor. As now Falcons trying to take out Onyx, a little bit of revenge after they were in the middle of their own pickings in the afternoon. Limit already taking them out real easy here. Onyx the next to fall. Falcons determined. It did cost them a member, but they have 17 eliminations already. If WAG were mowing down the lobby, these guys are sweeping everybody else underneath the bus.
Yeah, they ate and licked the plate for sure. BTR also got 4 more just now, just by taking out Expand, so 8 points for them. GOW and Pharaoh continues to have the standoff. And good news for Falcons, they managed to somehow find a revive. Guerrero gets brought back. Oh, as Rip finds a shot on the fires. No confirmation there, but it does force Todak to stay in the blue a little bit longer. And the blue is going to start hurting. With Deanne chipping in, Todak will have to make an executive decision. There might be a world they have to give up Vidals and try to push on forward. Because staying in that blue, the longer they do so, the harder things get. And with Noki getting wiped out, chances are growing slimmer.
It's growing very slim. Everybody had the same idea of how good that spot was if nobody deals with it. And now PR need to deal with GOW. They've already found that first initial picking. Time reversal as well, as Demon jumps right in, tries to take him out as soon as possible, and the rest start to fall as we see PR completely jump outside of the building to take the fight to them. Rip, he's still alive though. He's going to try and put some damage to it, forces Jump to go back down, making sure that he's taking as many alongside with him before he bows out.
A good attempt to keep himself healthy with the inhaler, but the blue hurts a bit too much for him to stay alive long enough to survive the danger zone. Falcons 17 and counting with PE Sports on their radar. A full wipeout will bring them to 21 as Nero hits the big nail to Kororo, and that's not the start you want as Falcons. All of them start to fall, and PE Sports looking to make quick work of the Falcons. On fire left, Cougar somehow decides to join the fire, and fire gets wiped out. Now Cougar's going to be next on the docket, PE Sports with 11.
Alright, so they're both playing on low ground, looking towards high ground to see whether there's any vantage points they can take care of. Right now, BTR, really strong, playing on that outer side of the blue as it slowly rotates to take the high ground and also deny space from PE. We see that Nero wants to catch the tail end of it. He is paired up with the Cassie right now, so he needs to be upfront taking that damage. And Kyung, the first to fall, Nolan taking advantage of the situation as we see that Lao Ho goes in with a flank onto Juan's side, forcing Kojo to fight off on by himself. He does get a bit of help from Juan's side. Nero eventually it goes down as Nolan and Lao Ho start working together. This Cassie is keeping things so alive, and they take out the rest. LBT forcing it into a 2v2, 2v1 actually. He gets the initial revive. Nolan chillin', waiting. Lao Ho goes for the turnaround.
What?
3 for 1, gets the pick, and now with both down, Nolan and Lao Ho wins out the final bout.
Incredible stuff from PE Sports. First it was Nero with a sharp opener in the final fight, but Nolan comes through, threading the needle. There was 2 glue walls lined up side by side, and he found that gap to finish off the rest of BTR with the final 2 shots. Because BTR, they were looking pretty good. If they get that revived off, it would have been a 3v2 in favor of the Indonesians. But Nolan, the latest addition to PE Sports, denied that and earns them their first booyah. And I think it's probably enough to temporarily put PE Sports in the first place on the overall standing over RQ Kazu.
They should be in a really good spot as well. I'm curious, well, at the end of that, they had 11 eliminations before this final fight. They probably picked up 4 more, which puts them at 15. So that puts them at what, an extra 27 points?
Yeah,
I
27.
think? Alright, we'll get confirmation at the very end of it, but this fight, it worked out really well. I initially thought that BTR had the initial advantage, right? Because a lot of resources were used early, but again, the way that they swarmed, making sure that the 2-on-2s were really, really good, and more importantly, Lao Ho's initial disruption over that backline, that initial flank, really helped them get a powerful position over BTR.
Lao Ho really creating a diversion, a distraction to really split the attention of BTR members. They had no idea where Nolan was, and that was the perfect opening for PE Sports to take that round away from BTR. Bit of a throwback to BTR's previous experiences where there's so many close shave, but I gotta say this round it's a pretty good start for Bigatron by Vitality. All things considered, this is their first round after all.
Very good. I mean, considering how everything kind of panned out, definitely they probably wanted to win that last clash to kind of secure a lot more points. But I think the momentum is already starting to build up, right? Especially for like Falcons, they're walking away, and WAG, they're walking away with like a ton of elimination points.
Yeah, they truly are. I think Falcons just off of that probably got like 24 points in total. 17 eliminations. They were out in the 4th place. So yeah, 24 points as an opener. Not too shabby overall. Even for WAG, who I think this round probably shot them up to top 6 if the calculations are correct. So strong start from the teams that we predicted are going to have in the top 3 at the start of the show. The only team that is still struggling, unfortunately, is Evo's Divine.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was really rough for them. It felt like a lot of teams had kind of covered the areas after the initial engagement, making sure that their revives were always staggered, and I didn't think that they had a full squad walking into the 3rd ring. It was only just bits and pieces of them, but I gotta give it up to the Vietnamese right now because they're playing hyper aggressive. It's great to see that they're willing to take on these fights very ideally, especially against some of the best that we have here in Southeast Asia.
And also a good time to talk about Esports, a slight role change as well, right? Previously, he was one of the rising stars, rising snipers of Vietnam. In fact, I think at one point we even put him up onto the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Legends, with some of the best snipers we have in the league. Right now, his role change is definitely settling in, but the MVP for Game 1 goes over to Nero, running that Cassie. Again, he was the one that got the opener on BTR and the final fight before the rest of his team closed it out.
Yep, again, doesn't really have any other, his setup isn't designed for him to be the, combat augment specialist. You usually leave that up to your rusher, but the fact that he can open up these opportunities and find 3,400 damage already looks pretty good for him, right? 7 knockdowns as well. He's just part of the squad.
Oh yeah, he has been a long-standing member of PE Sports as well, so really liked what they brought into this opening round. Even when you look at the overall stat, right? Nolan having 6 eliminations, 1.7k damage, so a lot of that conversion is a lot of efficient conversion, but a lot of it came from Nero laying out the groundwork and helping the rest of his team kind of collect the necessary points.
I mean, considering how the rest of his team is doing as well, really goes to show, hey, he is finding a lot more picks than anybody else. He is finding a lot more opportunities to actually finish off targets, right? Especially since they're running the Homer instead of having the traditional Riptide rhythm to start blowing down glue walls. I guess Oscar kind of opens that opportunity for the team to kind of rush in as a squadron and chase down lacking members. Anybody who's just a little bit slower than the rest can get clipped by the Homer, and then they just swarm them.
And I think that's one of the few differences PE has compared to a lot of teams out there that who prefer the Skylar compared to the Homer, but it does give that information regardless. Game standings after round 1, PE Sports with the Booyah and 15 Limbs places them at 27 points. Falcons getting 24, BTR 21. So the top 3 teams really putting in a lot of that groundwork. A slightly top-heavy round, but that's also because we WAG and Onyx, who were about to get their engines running, ended up running into one of the top 3 teams.
Yep. And I think it just means that a lot of teams are going to have to start adjusting on the fly. And that's why this league format is so good, right? It's never just about how good you can do within that week itself. It's about adjusting slowly as the game maps go by, and more importantly, as the days go by. At this point, I would imagine that Falcons are going to be leaving very satisfied with this. I do hope that Onyx will look to reinvent the wheel a little bit more, right? Because it felt like both Onyx as well as Falcons had the same idea that they wanted to chain their thirds together throughout the map to eventually build up into getting into the 3rd and 4th ring, where I think a lot of teams would have slowed down at that point.
Yeah, we did have that small window in the middle of the round where teams started slowing down, where they were not running into a lot of their enemies. We had a 3-way standoff even between Pharaoh and I think 2 other squads. So it's a beauty of Nextera, right? Again, neutral ground, teams that we don't really expect to pop up. Sometimes we'll use Nextera as a buffer, and PE Sports took full advantage of that.
And as long as we see the teams, build up not only momentum, but as well as just to see whether or not this RNG map is going to kind of stop building up that momentum from what we were used to when the maps were very sequenced, having the final map before we got Solara being the RNG map. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the same for today.
I personally do hope that when we get to Solara, it's going to be another one of those Nextera effect. I think Bigatron is pretty good on Solara as well. For some reason, this team is good on the newer maps, but I think we get Solara on round number 5, so plenty of time for these teams to get ready. If I'm not mistaken, the upcoming map should be Bermuda, right?
Yes.
Or Purgatory, I think it's like... Yes, either one of that.
It's Purgatory and then Bermuda.
And
so
then
technically
Bermuda.
You're correct. Yeah. But with Purgatory, at least, with a little bit of the infighting within Nextera, we shouldn't expect that as often in Purgatory. It's a much bigger map, much more play space to actually have. And I think that, with the changes to how quickly the ring starts to shrink, the amount of size that you get off of the 3rd ring alone really forces teams to get into fights and start looking for final spots by ring 4, ring 5.
I think a lot of teams also are starting to adopt the whole play style of, depending on the team identity, I think teams like Falcons, WAG, they are teams that are willing to take the fight, right? For them, it's all about the snowballing effect. But when you look at teams like EVOS, they are very used to playing from behind. Teams like RRQ, Todak, Expand, I think more to Expand than it is to Todak, that they don't mind playing it slow and then they come alive doing it in the later stages of the game. Both have the pros and cons, right? If you go aggressive, the cons is that you might end up losing and getting wiped out, or you get yourself into a horrible position that you cannot recover from. But playing it slow means that when you have to take on big fights, you might not have as much resources as those who have been steamrolling their opponents.
Absolutely, and I think, speaking of setups, we're seeing that a lot of teams are favoring, initially we saw coming into EWC that having a little bit of information to work off of while still having some kind of combat ability always is going to be the case. We saw a lot of Cassies come in. We saw some teams actually opt to not go for the quota, instead bringing the A1 and A1 to kind of double up on their firepower, especially if they do have like an Oscar alongside them to shut down opposing Cassie players, if not stopping opposing opponents from actually utilizing Dimitri, for an example, as a means to kind of hunker down and stay strong.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of some of these approaches from the teams. I think one of the teams that have made the biggest changes overall to how they play is definitely PE Sports. Usually, they used to be a lot more passive, and that also is an effect of them not being confident enough to take on 4v4s. Another team that I personally want to see more of is Kagendra, right? This is the new kid on the block alongside Team Magna. Especially, I think if you compare these two teams together, at least Magna Esports has some veteran players that we recognize, like Ray Miao, for example, the only Filipino player in this league. But for Kagendra, most of them have never been on such a big stage before, and round one hasn't really given us enough of a demonstration of this team just because they got wiped out so early on by WAG.
Yeah, with that wipeout, makes you wonder a little bit. Wonder how they're going to look to recover themselves, right? How they're going to actually try to perform and find the eliminations necessary to kind of keep them in the spot. And I don't know, especially if you are a new team, you have to start looking at the setups, because so far our top 3 most used characters, everybody loves a Joseph, everybody loves a Ford, the Moko. Well, I mean, it's pretty popular as of right now, but it really comes down to choice, whether or not you want to have the extra ability or not.
I mean, Joseph is just so good, right? Because you get immune to disruptive effects. Like it can't be slow, can't be mark, can't be no skill silencing. Also, you become immune to that, and you get a movement speed boost. And anything that can cleanse you from debuffs is always going to be great. Because Moko for the information, everyone loves good info, and even for Ford to a certain degree, I think. The Iron Will ability to reduce damage taken outside safe zone, such an integral part of the game right now, because a lot of teams opt to rotate late, and when you do so, you are forced to tank the blue, and Ford makes it a lot more, shall I say, affordable to do so.
Yeah, he makes you so flexible. Even when you're having a bad start, you're getting gate kept, he also comes into play. Just for positional points sometimes. Now, we look at the top 3 most used pets. We got Arvan, Beaston, as well as Dreki. Beaston is always a good little fun buddy to have in your squadron. Not everybody needs to take it, because Arvan definitely takes more priority, but Beaston definitely helps if you already like to have Alvaro in your set.
Yeah, even now, Alvaro hasn't really been the most popular character overall. I can't think of a universe where you can release a pet that will replace Arvon in the first spot, because Arvon is just way too good, right? And Oculus, you get to detect the amount of players in a single zone, and with such long range as well, it's one of the most useful intel gatherers. Most used character though, this is where the meta really shifts a little bit, with the Oscar now being in the most used in 75 times. Tatsuya actually coming in a close second, which to me is a bit surprising. I thought the gap would be a bit bigger, but we also have Skylar in number 3. After last year, Skylar finally came back into meta.
Yep. I think, you know, the usage of Tatsuya alongside the Oscar is why we're seeing it so close together, right? It feels really bad when you have one without the other, because at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is having that secondary rusher to come alongside with you and really take advantage of flank positions. Because again, at least with the Tatsuya changes, as soon as you use your initial dash, if you find a knockdown, you can actually dash again, which is a powerful tool, especially if you're kind of like plowing through member after member of the enemy squadron.
Yeah, depends on what the teams are willing to trade off, right? Like if you have the Oscar, you get to dash into people, you get to knock them, but you also destroy glue wall in the process. So you pair Oscar with a Skylar, suddenly you have so much destructive capabilities. But again, the Tatsuya reset can come in handy in very clutch moments. Purgatory up next, the biggest map I think in the entire competitive pool, and most teams, I think, for Purgatory, with the fact that BRU isn't playing, I am looking at Team Falcons to see if they can continue to dominate.
Yeah, I mean, they were already looking out for blood in game number 1. I expect nothing less coming into game number 2, especially for a map named Purgatory of all places. Even so, I still think that there is still hope for the rest of the lobby to actually warm up to try and change those standings a little bit more. It'll be exciting to see where Kagendra is going to land once again, because again, with these newer teams like you mentioned, right, there are notable hotspots that a lot of teams are just known for dropping on. The question is, which door are they going to knock on?
And a lot of times, I think a lot of times on Purgatory also comes out to what teams you're going up against. Like for example, Bigatron loves to drop Ski Lodge. I don't think they've changed it for the longest of time. So we're gonna head into Purgatory just a little bit to see if that drop spot remains the same. I am not a big fan of Ski Lodge at all. I think if you get caught in bad spot, it's most likely your burial ground. But for teams like Bigatron, they're so used to it, and they have proven that they can make use of such a niche area.
And let's see how they're going to utilize it. Once again, everybody, welcome to the Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia Fall Season of 2025. We have a pretty neat, I want to say neutral. It's a little bit skewed towards the southern side, but it does cut through a majority of the map anyways, mainly following along the river line. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get to Moat House, but you'll still end up towards the outskirts of fields anyways, so it's not too far off.
You see that Bigatron still dropping towards Ski Lodge, but instead of dropping directly on Ski Lodge, they land on top of Forge. We saw Onyx Olympus right beside them, so most of the common drop spots that we're used to hasn't really changed too much. But Evo's Divine right into the jaws of Team Flash. Aim God against Def, and Def trying to run away from Def itself. Aim God on the chase, a couple of pumps to the back, and backup comes through for Team Flash. Evos finds no cigar.
Good choice coming in from Death. He saw that Trogon blasting at him. He's like, nah, I want none of this right now. I'm out of here. Time Turner already expended. They might wait for the next cooldowns of their active skills to come off before getting back into the battle. Aim God, he doesn't mind, right? He's playing Oscar, relatively short cooldown here. He's ready to go. He's also got a Trogon in hand, which gives him extra bit of confidence. But his initial drop coming up with tier 2 helmet and as well as armor are going to be very useful, as Arashi and Ray look like they are prepared for the clash as well.
Russia actually goes back down to the ground floor, only with a P90 in hand, not the best long-range weapon. Evo's making a call to allow both Russia and Team Ray to try and get more resources before they continue this fight. UAV being sent out as well. Pharaoh already with 3 eliminations under the belt. It seems like this fight between them and GOW continues. Kagendra members also showing up. Their Dinoculus gets a big scan, courtesy of Pharaoh, who are still able to stay safe majority of the game.
They're going to take their time for now. Both sides, within the zone of the UAV, it's given all the information that they need. But at least for EVOS, they know that their backs are going to be clear from thirds for the time being. Assuming that nothing happens, and immediately they break through. ABCD is the first to go down, with Ray quickly falling behind him. Wong Am needs to take on Aim God because it's 2v3 inside the building, on that platform, on the foundation of this building itself. And Flash, they quickly lock themselves down. Time Turner is well being expended, but it's a little too late as we see the rest start to fall. That's going to be Team Flash already being eliminated at 12.
That is very unfortunate for Team Flash, because that was a just pure display of a mechanics check, right? EVOS won every single 1v1 that they took. So 4 free points for EVOS. Divine Pharaoh finds the 4th as well. It's now a straggler from Kagendra being caught. GOW deciding to disperse from the vicinity. As CT7 able to take down Demon, so weakening GOW at the same time. Expand also having a fight of their own. CT7 finds one but gets found himself. Expand claims their first.
Once again, Expand just hunkering down in Mountain Villa for the time being. WAG didn't get into any early scuffles, but it looks like we're about to watch them approach one. Esports on their southern side, and it looks like Xbor is the one who's already initiated here. We cut back over to PR and as well as GOW. A bit of a split coming in from the members all across the board, but PR already have 5 eliminations. Cyrus has taken out Cougar already and even eliminated him at the same time.
At the end, playing Ring Around the Roses with Zenzi. He finally catches up. The pre-fire around the corner with the troll gone. 6 point for Pharaoh, who happened actually playing quite split up. Early on when we saw them, 2 of the members were in vehicles. I would assume doing reconnaissance. So Pharaoh, they will take some time to hopefully get a revive back as WAG continues down south of Quarry. And Don shows up with a knockdown of his own. Jump does the same. Pharaoh are everywhere.
It looks like WAG are just trying to clear off the rest of this island, right? Making their way down to south side of the quarry, hearing the initial fights that have been happening, and that's going to be GOW eliminated. Expand, we're on Mount Villa, which is just a little bit southern, on the low ground of quarry itself. And you can see that WAG won't be too pleased having to climb up such a high height. Now Expand, they're going to be looking down. They find PLS1, but they don't take him out just yet, alerting the rest of the members of WAG.
It should be safe for now. Good building to work with, plenty of space. A vending machine, I believe. To get all the necessities, WAG gets to reposition. Double UAV being sent out. He saw someone from Expand jump off the cliff, and that's an easy pick up by Tikui. The rest of Expand also commits to it, but they're already outnumbered. Not really have the help to work with Xbor. They're shooting fish in the battle. WAG should theoretically find 4 free points off of this. And I don't see how Expand can get out of this predicament.
And unfortunately, just no real natural cover to play as we see that Luffy the first to fall, but Valt's still holding on for a little bit longer, but finally Tikui, he's just landed shots today. Expand bow out in 10th, and that's going to be 8 eliminations as WAG clear off their island.
Yeah, I'm very unlucky for Expand. Not really sure what the call was. It's really just sent themselves to the depths. Devo's Divine might run into Esports. Evos, they do have the number. It's Nero and LBT just arriving at the bunker, but I think Kochiu will catch wind of LBT running into that structure, and now Evos posted up to take on PE Sports if they do poke their heads out.
I mean, PE at this point, they know that they only just have 2 members nearby each other, right? The rest of Evos, 3 men strong, trying to slowly encroach on their spot. Aim God, he's going to start sniffing out the bunker first. He knows that they've moved out of position. He sees one on the high ground, and Rasha instantly takes Nero out, leaving only LBT, the only one to fight for himself.
It should be lights out for LBT. Evos would slowly chase him down, even a UAV hovering across the building. 6 point for Evos. A much better round compared to round 1 on Xterra, where they really didn't get to play the game at all. Forced to be on revival speed the entire round. LBT just trying his best to maneuver this. Gets a knock onto InGod. Would be nice if he gets the finisher, but outnumbered unfortunately by the rest of Evos, and LBT goes down. PE Sports unfortunately will have to continue this round with limited members.
Oh wait, hold on. Laho does get the initial revive. Jump takes out Xbor, and PR now on the chase against WAG, who is taking the long way around Mount Villa on that southern side, plating on the circumference while still getting chased, because with each launch pad, another member from PR continues, and Dawn is chasing, and he's not going to leave this elimination for free.
Yeah, WAG had to make the tough choice of leaving the teammate behind, because if they try to go for the revive, they are eventually going to get wiped out. They're literally at the edge of the map, and we are almost 8 minutes in. This blue zone is going to start hurting slightly more. WAG needs to somehow get out of Mount Villa, but you see Pharaoh, the Wolves are closing in from all sides.
And they're coming in fast, right? So far, the elimination leaders is PR for the time being. PLS1 understands that I gotta slow down Cougar here just a little bit, slow down as many members as I possibly can. And unfortunately, Zenz is just ready to go. PLS1 falls. The last remaining member, T-Query. He's still alive, right? He's got resources to play with, plenty of medkits to survive out in the blue for a little bit of time, but I'm not too sure how far away the ring is. In his POV, we can still see the ring is closing, so he's not too far away from where the next ring is supposed to spawn, but it could get a lot worse the longer he is out here.
I mean, he was lucky there's the vehicle there, so he can make a quick rotation spared by this that will get him out of the blue zone. Because if you have to run all the way from central towards wherever the safe zone is, it is going to be quite a marathon. PE Esports again runs into EVOS. LBT did get brought back, but resource-wise, EVOS definitely have the advantage. And Nolan posting up in the front line, LBT on the low, but I don't think he has the necessary arsenal to fight this. And EVOS just full commits. Nolan now realized that the backline is basically exposed. He has to hold his own.
Nolan unfortunately got hit by the brass tacks, losing 50% of his life trying to take out anybody launching, and Laoho, the next to fall, caught out in the open. Oh, EVOS has played this well, taxing every member of PE as they achieve 8 eliminations. They now chase the last remaining member of PE, but they're going to be walking down this mountain range to get the full amount of coverage. Even Ray taking a vehicle of his own to make sure that this side heading into the ring is theirs. They don't necessarily have to chase, but I mean, if he happens to show up, might as well be in position for it.
Yeah, and they have the launch pad that they used earlier on to sandwich the Esports. So they basically lost no time. In fact, might even gain more. And even if Nero escapes them, it's inevitable that PE Sports will most likely not make it too far into the late game. And that revive gets spotted out by Russia. It should be an easy pickoff, right?
Very good
Maybe
spot. Maybe not. It depends how far he's fallen. He's still looking up at the sky. Doesn't necessarily see the body anymore, which means that he left quite soon after the shots came through. But we're looking at our next engagement. Finally, Falcons getting some action for themselves. They're facing off against Tonak, who's trying to keep them in, trying to gatekeep. As we see Kagendra making a jump on the opposite end. Vice, he's already down. And once their sniper is down, Falcons start moving in with a man advantage here. As Limit finds another one and traps it. And again, he takes out Vice, making sure that he's put down in the dirt for good. Noki finds one back in Kororo, but Peter says, no, Noki, you don't get to play the game how you want to. Falcons take no casualties as they bring back Keroro from his knees and chase down Videls.
Yeah, Noki really tried to be a hero, but Falcons, they're prepared for this. Battle hardened and a team wipeout for Team Falcons. Again, Todak knocked out in 9th place and Falcons claims the first 4 points of this round. Definitely a slower one compared to Nextera, but once Falcons get going, you can be damn sure that you see them in the final circle with I think there's a separate team on the opposite side of where they are. EVOS Divine also slowly making their presence known. PE Sports are gonna meet EVOS Divine for the 3rd time this round, and this time is LBT, who might end up going down a 2nd time, and this time with Ray taking him out. That's point number 10 for EVOS.
Oh man, they've just been farming PE for the longest time now, right? For a ring and a half, after taking a bit of damage, they still managed to pull through and winning out a majority of their clashes against PE. It has been a good reign of elimination points for them, and they even secure a spot for themselves on some pretty decent high ground on the north side of the map. They're even sending the UAV out, and that's going to spot out PE as well as the Falcons. We come back to the southeastern side of the map where we see Onyx facing off against Kagendra.
This is the seniors against the juniors. Putra makes contact and too easy for Raph. Does make it look easy. Onyx continues the assault with Calvin trying to back them up, but the Glue Wall is making his job pretty hard to find a good angle. And Kagendra starting to gain leverage over Onyx. Calvin realized that he needs to relocate, so the support fire is down. A 180 by Erupt to take down Zairu. Onyx gets wiped out by Kagendra, and Kagendra lose no one.
Oh, what a turnaround there. With the majority of their members taking a lot of damage, like literally at 1 HP, unable to finish off that clash. We cut back to WAG on the southern side as the ring is put right on top of them. At the edge of it, Vitality and as well as PR are so nearby.
Oh yes, I mean, Bigatron against Pharaoh. Another interesting matchup too. WAG could be a third party. Judging by the placements of the teams alone, Bigatron can just let this play out
Whoa!
See what prompts them. Well, Evil's Divine shows up, and that is going to disrupt the balance. In fact, Evil's Divine waste no time starting a fight.
They get right in there. They're trying to secure the compound and forcing BTR to play high. Unfortunately, they are locked in, both Indonesian squads, in this one building. WAG, as much as they want to take advantage of the situation, EVO's just too quick on the decision. PE finally get eliminated here. We do see that the Falcons still in combat against Kagendra. Peter quickly trying to go for the initial flank. Too easy for Rap, making sure that Irap is still... No, he doesn't! Keroro is able to find, with the help of Limit, 2 headshots in a row. Limit coming up huge for the squadron once again. He just doesn't seem to miss.
Just too good in terms of tactics. Even just raw mechanics, Falcons took that fight as if it was just another day in the park. WAG getting free shots onto Pharaoh, and Cougar left alone to steal behind the boulder, and I think the job is done for WAG. BTR up against Falcons off screen. With Falcons around, BTR now are going to be threatened a little bit. They want to hold that second floor, but it's not only Falcons or Evos that they have to worry about. WAG also wants a piece of the pie.
Everybody is realizing that this next ring has already predetermined, and especially since the structure is already kind of cutting into the ring itself, has now turned into a really big power position on this west side as we come into that 5th ring. 12 more seconds before it starts shrinking inwards, and WAG need to figure out, do we take the roof? If not, who else is going to be available? We're not too sure who's on the northern side of the map anyways, and it looks like Falcons actually jumping straight into the middle here as we see the ring start to close on in.
Could make themselves free targets for Evil's Divine, who are pelting them with lead. We see the glue wall melter being tossed out as well. I would assume that Falcons have plenty of glue wall to work with just to establish a decent landing spot as Cougar makes a run for it and ends up getting knocked out. The attention of Evos now turns over to WAG. They don't want to put themselves at risk of being shot at by multiple teams, so getting these isolated fights is a smart move. WAG will be in their crosshairs.
WAG finally now outside the blue as one by one they're getting picked off here by both Falcons, BTR, as well as EVOS. Everybody has the same idea, and Falcons now establish their spot right at the center of this final zone. You see that Cochilo, he's walking up with a launcher too, as Keroro has already taken out the majority of the members and securing a lot of eliminations against WAG. EVOS not too happy about this, need to figure out a solution here, because right now this dam that's blocking off the top floor and the bottom floor is really forcing them in a pretty tough spot, as we do see the ring favoring Falcons once again.
This is a dream come true for Team Falcons. They missed out the Booyah in the previous round, but this round the probability goes up just because of this. Evos needs to make a choice right now, because if they run out into the open, they could make themselves easy target for Bigatron, with the exception that there's actually no window that directly leads Bigatron out into the open, except if they come up from the side, and that's what Bigatron will do. And they expend a couple of glue walls for that, a monster truck to tow, and that's going to prompt Team Falcons. Bigatron makes the move, takes the launch pad. Falcons need to decide where they need to look at, and on Fire Plus Limit, they look at BTR, as BTR overshoots and ends up in the blue instead. Now Evos takes the opportunity to try and take out Falcons, but Falcons is ready until Kochu lands that grenade launcher, and Falcons are getting wiped.
And now as we see EVOS attacking from that west side, the east side, BTR, despite a fallen member, looking to find some revenge onto Falcons here. Coach Hill's the next to fall, as Ray is able to take out 2 members already from the side of Falcons. Falcons are now out, forcing it to be EVOS versus BTR, but the man advantage is just too much. The timing of both EVOS and as well as BTR, it was a coin flip between the two of them.
And Falcons did the best they could. They saw BTR make that move. They got some decent damage in. But what they needed in that moment was instant knockdowns from those snipes. And Evos, they took control of the chaos and were able to catch Falcons off guard. That grenade launcher made all the difference. BTR, some might call it a noble sacrifice, but I say it's a tactical brilliance from the EWC champions to get this booyah and finally get something going for themselves.
They adjusted. Well, I don't know whether they adjusted or things just worked out in their favor, right? Because as they were exiting, they did notice that BTR was kind of making a move on their right side. They could have just delayed just like 2 seconds longer, tanked just a little bit of the blue to see them launch on over before making their moves, so they don't have to take it as much walking in. But they, again, recovered very, very nicely, especially when all the attention got pulled to BTR, who took the risk of using the launch pad.
Just, again, incredible stuff from EVOS, as much as the probability of this round would have been siding Falcons up to the very end, sometimes, you know, I wouldn't say miracles, sometimes unexpected events happen. And again, EVOS took charge of the situation, was able to walk away with the round. Falcons once more finishes second in a round for today, but I think they've still gotten some pretty decent points to make up for the lack of Booyah.
Yeah, plenty of eliminations this time. We'll see what that final score of eliminations for Game 2 is going to be in just a little bit. But again, we're seeing that at least for Kagendra, very happy for them, right? They didn't go for this initial hotspot fight. Eventually, they started, unfortunately, meeting up against Falcons before they got completely bowed out. But they took out Onyx Olympus. The fact that they were able to get some elimination points as well as positional points is pretty huge.
Yeah, and this is kind of like what I always look forward to. I want to see how great a new team can be, like new faces, because we had that even 4 or 5 years ago during MC when it was still called MCP Major. We had teams like Bloody Kings from the Philippines, like people make fun of them, but they are big spoilers when it comes to grand final scenario. And I want to see if Kagendra can step up to the plate. If they are taking out teams like Onyx Olympus, maybe give them a few times, we might see them in the grand finals playing spoilers.
Hey, we'll see. We'll see whether or not they're going to be playing as spoilers, right? There's still a lot of time for them to actually grow and pick up on what's been going on within the competitive meta and just the overall playstyle, because it looks like, hey, they're down to clown a little bit. They're down to have that, you know, clash squad fights, but we'll see how they start reacting to newer situations when things get really chaotic.
Yeah, and that's what I like about this format, right? New, unique active skills, every player, and then we have new teams with new concept. I didn't expect PE Esports to bring back the Tatsuya because they are a lot more slower, but again, we saw that evolution of the squad. Pharaoh as well has been a team that I think gives off very mixed feelings to a lot of the supporters, because you have players who were from Attack All Around who have won tournaments before of getting get close to winning one, but it's the inconsistencies that make you wonder if this team is that team. And I think even in fall season, I don't know where Pharaoh stands up to this point.
No, I totally agree with you. Again, it feels like they were trying to figure out their identity with their previous members during EWC, and coming into this, coming into the fall season, it still feels like they're working on refining what they know. But hey, let's give it up for our MVP Ray here. He's still playing the Tatsuya. He's still very effective on it, and utilizing both Oscar as well as Tatsuya is an interesting combination, because one can plow through, the other can look for those big flank angles, which again I think definitely suits Ray's overall playstyle, right? If he is able to make those pickoffs on his own, at least with Tatsuya, he gets extra benefits when he does so.
Yeah, he definitely does. Even with the Andrew as well, rocking the Arvon, 8 eliminations, 10 knockdowns, 2.5k damage, really effective in the overall approach, and that's what makes, you know, Ray deadly, right? His rogue isn't even a rusher, he's a grenadier, and he still delivers the highest amount of elimination in the game with the support of his team. Of course, Russia with 4 eliminations and 8 assists to boot as a sniper.
Yep. Again, Russia, this Wonder Kid, really nasty, right? Very comparable to Limit as well. It's just when it gets into those close-range battles is when it starts to get a little awkward, right? Which is probably why they kind of switched Aim God onto this Oscar instead, right? Not only playing for that information, but since he is going to be the shot caller at the end of the day, if he says go, it's very obvious when he's going.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, the captain of the team. Especially like 3 of these players, aside from Russia, they have kind of gone through the whole package of being at the top and being at the very bottom, being close to winning, right? EWC 2024, that's where they all were. And Russia, he was sitting in the bleachers, wishing that he could play with the team because he wasn't 16 years old yet. He made a promise on Instagram. 1 year later, he joins the roster and wins it all. You cannot make up a better fairy tale than that. Right now, this team looks as complete as it can get, and at their prime.
Yep, I mean, they're the full package, right? They've got everything that they need to play their style, which is a little more aggressive when they are on, when they have the advantage. Plenty of ways to get information. Great, honestly, one of the teams that has great utilizations of UAVs. But then look at Cochil, his setup, he even has the Beastland on top of having the Alvaro, just to make sure that if they do happen to be in a position where they're getting pushed against, it's very useful to have those cluster nades slow down your opponent's approach. If so, flush out your opponents in tight corners since you aren't running the A1.
Yeah, still can't believe that we won't be seeing much Dreki anymore. Everyone just runs Arvon because it's just a lot more effective in this current meta. 30 points for Evo's Divine for round 2. Again, Falcons, no Booyah, no problem. Still netting 23 points despite that.
23 points, 15 eliminations, and the majority of it was just hunting down some of the other members here in our lobby. So far, I mean, Group B has been doing okay, I suppose, but they're getting chopped a little.
Yeah, in Group B, I think, only EVOS and WAG are doing okay. I mean, PE Sports had a good round 1, right? Like, this round Purgatory, they were hunted down by EVOS the entire game. But I agree, I think Group C, they really are showing that they're here to shift out the power dynamic. I'm not sure about, GOW and Team Flash. They are still trying to find a footing. But Falcons, definitely the pack leader of that group.
Yep, Falcons making sure that they're standing above the rest, right? Trying to set the standard here, especially when EVOS is here to play. 30 total points by the end of that match. We'll see whether or not... Again, this is why teams want to put this squadron behind. These are the type of points, double-digit points, they like to stir back up. This puts Falcons in today's standing currently at number 1, with EVOS just behind them by 12 points.
Yeah, pretty close. EVOS, if they get another good round like that, long as Falcons get wiped out early, EVOS can easily overtake the BTR. And coming in close, just 2 points behind EVOS, and then you have PE Sports and WAG. So far, I mean, the predictions ain't too bad for for both of us. The teams that we expect to really show up are currently in top 5. With Pharaoh tied up with WAG, that is also pretty great thus far. And then you look at the bottom 6 teams. That's where the gap is slightly bigger, from 30 points down to 17 between Pharaoh and Onyx.
Yeah, and only because Onyx got eliminated by Kagendra pretty early on in the bout itself, especially in game number 2. When we look at the overall standings, PE still undisputedly number 1. PR catching very close by, as we see RRQ dip down to 3rd, and then you see EVOS just like, yeah, big points means we can catch up very quick, and we're looking to take that number 1 spot.
Yeah, look at that, PE Sports. Never would I thought that I'd see them in first place and on the overall standing at any point of the league. But here they are, PE Sports. We talk about inconsistencies, right? Great round 1, round number 2, I'll give it to EVOS, presenting a hard time for PE Sports. Now is to see if PE Sports can recover on Bermuda. But Pharaoh finishing 2nd so far, that is also what I'm worried about. Because they showed us that they can pop off, but when you need them to pop off, they kind of fall flat a little bit, and I'm worried that is going to be the case. It's going to be tough for some of these teams, but we got to remember to thank our sponsor Red Bull for the zinc and vitamin from Thailand, supplemented with zinc B3 and B6, featuring a mild taste that helps players stay highly focused and seize every opportunity to achieve stylish and booyahs and victories. You can see Red Bull cans on some of the desks of the players, and that's why they are providing us with some of these crisp shots in the game. So thank you very much, Red Bull, for being a part of Free Fire World Series 2025, not just for spring but also for the fall season. And I gotta you call me a sellout, but I absolutely love the new flavor. 0 sugar, and at the same time, great flavor to go for. I had it before the show, and I'm feeling energized to keep on going. And hopefully the players continue to deliver on that front as well. We are just 2 rounds in. We're done with Nexterra, we're done with Purgatory, and we have Bermuda coming up next. That's going to be interesting because some of the top teams who are good in Bermuda aren't actually playing. BRU isn't playing, but we got Pharaoh, who are ranked top 3 in Bermuda performances just off of EWC alone. We got Team Falcons as well, who are also not too shabby on Bermuda. So let's see if that is going to help them get their first booyah of the day, with the 1st and 2nd place being BRU and RRQ Kazu, but these 2 teams are not playing today. So I think Pharaoh has a very good chance at upsetting the balance and maybe overtake PE Sports on the overall leaderboard on Bermuda. So we'll see how that one's going to play out. As for teams I want to see step up, I mean, GOW, Team Flash, they gotta step up, man. They're not doing too good right now. I think even Kagendra is having a better day. So hopefully, when we go back to where Free Fire first started on Bermuda, some of these teams can get back into the action and show us what they are made of, especially for Team Flash, who have been struggling with a lot of these 4v4s alongside GOW, who gets good spots on the map, but we're not able to convert it into more, and that's basically a pretty worrying sight. Todak as well, having a good start in Game 1, but Game 2 so far hasn't been going their way, also due to the fact that they ended up running into Team Falcons, but spirits still high for the Todak boys. A couple of high fives to boot. Evil's Divine looking incredibly comfortable after a Game 2 booyah, with a bit of help from Bigatron. Falcons having a 2 back-to-back booyah slip away from them. That's definitely going to be hungry for an actual booyah. WAG also feeling really good about themselves so far. Day 2 has been a lot more comfortable for the Vietnamese star. I think that's kind of the shift, I think, for the Vietnamese team. Even Kagendra, the latest addition into the entire FFWS League. You know, they're coming in from the Nusantara series, which is the qualifiers for fall season. Also, getting a bit of that momentum boost, being able to win a 4v4 against Onyx Olympus early on. Pharaoh, for me, still a question mark. Really am not sure what to feel about Pharaoh so far. They've given me a lot of mixed feelings across the year. Hopefully, you know, they kind of step up a little bit, because Pharaoh, I feel like as a squad, has so much potential within their players, but it's just when push comes to shove, you kind of wonder if they truly have it, because they've definitely been in the spotlight before, especially with Cougar, who did win EWC last year with Team Falcons. Even though he wasn't fielded in the main roster, he still has the EWC title under his belt, and that's kind of the experience and leadership we hope that that he brings to the team. That's what we want from Pharaoh, at least. But for the rest of the squad, I think for Team Falcons, for Team Flash and GOW, they really got to try and find their footing. Like, I'm looking at the stats for these two teams. They still aren't really at the top when it comes down to most of the map performances. For Bermuda, most of the time, we used to favor Team Flash over GOW, but GOW also had a period, I think in 2023, where they had great Bermuda performances. So hopefully they get to kind of showcase that, or we might have another one-sided Bermuda map, and that is going to be tough for some of these teams to catch up, because you don't want to end up in the bottom 6 by the end of week number 2. And for those who are not sure how week 2 works, when week 2 ends, teams are arranged on the standings according to points, and if you're bottom 6, you gotta wait longer before you get to play. So let's hop into Bermuda for map number 3 and see if the teams that got off to a slightly slow start can bounce back. They definitely will need it.
Our fought battle here in game number 3, we see that the flight path at least is looking pretty good. Right down the middle, no way to really shake things up, but it's all about those initial hot drops. We've already seen game 1 and as well as game 2 get as exciting and heated as expected from Southeast Asia, but let's see if the aggression doubles out now, especially with Kagendra. Who else are they gonna hot drop?
They did it in game 1, I remember. In game 2, they ended up running into a separate team, and they were able to beat Onyx Olympus, expand at Bimak Sakti Strip. Now this is a team that previously on Bermuda loved Clock Tower, and then BRU became a thing, and they had to change the drop spot from Clock Tower to elsewhere, I believe to Peak, but now, not Peak, from Clock Tower to, was it Bimak Sakti Strip? I feel like this is the 3rd location change over the years. The Falcons will be sharing the same spot around Graveyard with Bigatron. This could be our first 4v4 in this round.
Honestly, I don't mind it as much. If teams are learning new spots, learning new drop spots is always good, because you never know what happens during an international. And as much as you want to brand it as your own, somebody will try and contest you at some point of their Free Fire professional careers. They do see that BTR, they've already found that initial pick, and even On Fire is trying to close the distance as soon as possible, but it's just too late. They don't pick up any more members from BTR.
That is good news for BTR, who were able to get away, disengage as fast as possible. Ended up giving Observatory over to Team Falcons, but there's really nothing too much here. Falcons could split up if they want to. There we go, Kagendra. We talk about possible hot drop. It's Team Flash right in front of them. And two, and unfortunately for Easy for Dead is dead for now. If they can collect him, it seems like no one is going to help him for now. Too easy for Raph. Being chased out by ABCD. Backup coming in for Team Flash. A 2v1 around the corner. As the Zon takes out Too easy for Raph. Erupt does get a trade onto Death. So Flash still ends up losing members, but overall Kagendra are the ones that took the heavier blow, and they're out.
Yeah, and they're out so quickly already. Unfortunate on the initial hot drop, a good attempt, but it's not going to be enough this time, especially against Flash, who, again, they've dealt with a lot of hot drops in their own times, but this time round, they're the ones coming out on top, thanks to ABCD. Now, Death is still down, they're looking for resources to bring back, but now we see the EVOS facing off against the Falcons once again. Rooftop on fire, goes down to his knees, and oh, Rasha finds his own pick on towards limit side, but doesn't find the headshot.
Falcons bring in Pina as well. I think Kororo is swapped out. Wait, no, not Kororo. Who gets swapped out? They brought in Pina for sure. Did play with them at EWC. Rasha instantly gets brought back. Falcons, do they want to continue this fight though? Limit and Pina taking point on top of the hill. Aim God has an idea that Falcons are still hanging around. They're not the team that backs off easily. And Evo's ready to make a stand if needed.
Oh, they have to hold strong. So far, with only one elimination, I think they're not as confident. They got the tier 3 armor at the very least, but not exactly the best weaponry to keep up with these longer fights. Now, PR, they've taken control over Bismarck Strip, but more so, they've been fighting against GOW for a while, and now they're still on the chase. They do spot out the straggler here. Akoi is already dead. Demon looking for a pick of his own. Did Cougar just miss him? I think they did, but does the rest of the members actually find him? We'll find out. They're just walking by them one by one.
Whoa. Wait, no way, right? Did he really not see? Oh, there
he is. There he is. Jump definitely saw him, and now that Demon has already shown himself, Jump takes him out with a quick jump spot. Oh my goodness. I'm not even sure whether Jump spotted him until the shot started to come through.
That was funny. I have a feeling that he was in Jump's line of sight, and Jump somehow missed him, and did a 160, did a 180, and landed a headshot. So nothing much was lost. I got for them, for GOW, they still got the revive. Just a soft reset. WAG finding a bunker, so massive arsenal being stored. Expand right in front of them. If they go towards the northeastern side, the Binoculars shown up. That's a full scan on Expand.
Yup, it's a really great use of the scan. And WAG, they're out. Oh, are they Alpha Blood? No, they wouldn't be, right? Yep, they're launching right in there, taking the top height of it. They might spot out the legs of Expand just walking out, and that's perfect. T-Quay has all the information, spotting out all 3 members, make it 4, and finding the initial pick onto Rama.
And that is going to ensure the initial point for WAG. Unfortunately for Expand, not really looking too good in the situation. Decides to instantly bail. Cut their losses, and able to do so, gaining enough distance. So WAG, they would take control of Factory. Most of the time you probably don't want to chase so far, but Expand right out of the frying pan into the fire is Pharaoh right in front of them. They have an arsenal to work with, but they are outnumbered. Grenades start flying in, glue wall melters, the whole package. And Zenzi sneaks a shot in, Luki goes down, and that's the green light for Pharaoh to pounce.
Oh yeah, and there you go, Jump, he's already taken the space. Cougar sees him, and now they start walking in one by one, gunning him down. That Trogon mows through every member of Expand. Great pickoff coming in from, wait a minute, he just got shot in the back. It's WAG who's been tailing them this whole time.
WAG, let's see if they can clean this up. They did run into Pharaoh, but Pharaoh isn't truly, I want to say they aren't that weakened against Expand, but with that knockdown, they now are. Unfortunately, with that formation, there's no way to retrieve Dawn. So that brings them down to just 3, and T-Quay, just incredible tracking. Cougar will attempt to be revived. They bring it back up. Jump takes the launch pad. They're all in the air, vulnerable to WAG, and somehow 2 of them make it out. Cougar number 3 tries to divert course. It's not going to be that lucky, Cyrus, with the collection. And that will be point 3 for WAG.
Oh man, PR. It's always when they're caught off in these angles where they're not 100% sure what the enemy actually sees. Again, it could have been bad, right? If they just lined up their jumps towards the side of which WAG was looking through, it could have just been easy pickings for them. At least for Cougar, he understood like, hey, if I'm gonna buy some time, I don't already have that great loot, I might as well try and launch myself in the opposite direction and then get revived later down the road. But while this was all happening, WAG more than happy. PE is about to clash against them on the ground here by Bima Sakti Strip.
When X-Bor with a nasty shot, there goes Nolan, who's in the front lines and not anymore. LBT hiding behind the supply crate and Nero trying to really disengage. They had a medic gun in hand, but it wouldn't come into any use. LBT, is he really gonna get away from that? WAG somehow not landing a single shot, and LBT gets out.
Oh, so who do they chase at this point? And it looks like they're gonna chase the two pairs together. They didn't notice something fly across it, but still, they're looking for Nero. I can't believe they got away with that. PE literally robbing them in daylight. Quickly tries to drop down. Blue wall protects him for the initial shot, but he will still end up falling with the help of that second rusher. PLS1 also finding one for himself. This is, oh man, WAG, they find their eliminations, but they definitely want it more there.
Yeah, they definitely do. So unfortunate that the LBT somehow sneaked away. They did get Lao Ho back, Nolan with the revive. Onyx now runs into GOW. Dian having to take first contact. Not gonna hold up for long, unfortunately, with the entirety of Onyx storming him. So that's point number 5 for Onyx Olympus. Evo is down one man. The Wonder Kid is gone. Todak up on the hill. Falcons around the corner. Evo's now sandwiched in the middle.
Oh, how do they play this? Again, the angles aren't very good. It's not like EVOS can make the first move, but it looks like Todak is. They're going to be launching at least 2 of their members into the combat zone. Ray, he has to hold out for as long as possible, but Falcons immediately take out the front 2 coming up from EVOS Divine. Not a great start for EVOS Divine, and even Kochio gets picked off himself by Noki. They're getting hunted, and Angod is out of there. Manages to escape. Is he safe, though? I did see BTR just before he was about to reach his landing zone. Now, Todak have to face off against Falcons in their place.
Left to pick up the pieces with Falcons limit having 3 eliminations. Just waiting, just perched on top of the roof to see what comes out of the woodworks. Todak are very much separated. Did you not see Noki? Get back in turn while Noki revealed himself, having to make the great escape. There goes that blue wall. Noki in a 1v2. There's no way you can beat Pina and Kororo at the same time. So that's a 2-piece for Pina, 5 eliminations for Falcons.
Now they did take a pick off of Videl, and they saw that Faiz was also up there to pick him up. Videl's, he gets back to, oh, gets shot down on fire, covering a wide spread of angles here. A good way to cleanly, almost honestly very surgically from the side of the Falcons, and they spot another squad walking up to 3rd.
Falcons either gonna chase this. Feels like Limit's gonna reconvene with the rest of his team first, or at least pick up more supplies before the next fight. There really isn't much incentive for Falcons to keep on pushing the envelope. They're in such a comfortable spot at Observatory, having time to wait for the next circle to form too. If they have to fight King Flash, Falcons will be ready. WAG down south, so very populated area, and the next circle still is in favor of Falcons.
Well, for now, let's see, because it'll start shrinking first, and the next zone will be revealed. The southern side is, oh, so Green is pulled very far towards the western side. Aim God, he doesn't have enough resources here. Even with the Mart nearby, he could try to revive, but I don't think he's got enough currency as well. He's gonna go straight outside into the blue. Doesn't want to give any points to anybody.
Probably he's trying to make that long rotation. I would assume that he has the fort on him, just so, yeah, he does have the fort in, just so that he could find a vending machine, hopefully near the area. It is important to note that you can't just surrender yourself to the blue to deny points. It's against the rules, and Aim God knows that. Just try to find a safe spot to recover. I think it's fair to say that EVOS will not be in contention for the Booyah. But let's see if they can get more placement points off of that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a slow walk in, even if he does get a single revive though, right? Because we can see that Falcons are already holding to the closest left side. I mean, he will eventually have to give his points away to somebody at this point, but WAG as well as Falcons are the two most likely suspects who are going to claim those points. On the furthest southern side, we do see that GOW is still walking in. Onyx on the northeastern side, and BTR very happy with the position that they're in. His big spot out, all of PE stacked up into one place. Unfortunately for Putrax, he's already down. Adam, he's trying his best here to try and flush out the members from PE, but the lack of audio, and now BTR getting involved from the top side.
They somehow recover Zyro, but Juan takes him down again. It's gonna delay Onyx move a little bit. That Glue Wall gets destroyed. The Blues comes in from behind. Zyro forced to be surrendered. Onyx still takes the fight. Crime and Adam trying to make it work, but Crime finally falls to his feet, and it's just Adam left. Nolan around the corner with the Tatsuya. Evos gets eliminated off screen, and PE Sports makes quick work of Onyx Olympus. As the Indonesian teams gets wiped out back to back, with the Blue now threatening PE Sports. Nolan will be forced to take a knee. Unfortunately for LBT, he will also be taken out. PE out in 6, and BTR claims the reward.
It's a perfect position for BTR at the very least. They're just flushing out the members one by one. Again, most of it, the work was done by Onyx Olympus, walking in and losing their member to a quick 4-peak from PE's side, but the damage coming in from BTR has been felt. Now, we're left with our top 5 squads. It's going to be GOW, BTR, Team Flash, and WAG alongside Falcons.
Another powerful position for Falcons to work with. Again, this observatory spot has been rewarding, to say the least. You see WAG crossing by. They have a launch pad, the monster truck ready. Couple of methods to get through their opponents. What a shot by Def! BTR stood no chance, and those utilities gonna knock down their Glue Wall, and BTR are no more.
They're flushed out. They're flushed out so fast here. Bow down in 5th, GOW really pushing the agenda. A bit of an off angle for themselves. It looks like they're going to take their time to walk into the ring. Falcons in a very good position. The highest spot in what's available in the play area. WAG has opted to go underneath, making sure that they play underneath that bridge. Pina just scouting out just in case they start crawling up to their side. He's got Korora to back him up as well. Team Flash is on the northern side, where another 2 Falcon members are trying to keep them in place. But WAG as well as Flash forcing GOW to move. And it looks like GOW has decided to go to On Fire and Limit on the northern side of the western brink of this ring. Looks like the fight's going okay here, especially for Falcons, right? Oh, but he does find one of the members, doesn't get the initial pick as GOW has taken so much damage. Demon should be last one standing, unless Rip is alive with 1 HP, and it looks like Rip is alive, literally at 1 HP, trying to heal as they get flushed on out. Another nade coming through as well, as we see that the rest of Team Flash now taking position against them. Rip, he hops off the roof. Oh, he's trying to live for as long as he can, but Kuro won't let him.
Not really sure if that was the right call for GOW. If they had enough Blue Walls, I felt like they could have held out in the open against WAG. But they instead took the chance and ran into Falcons instead. So no rewards from that move. X4 finding Team Flash. And this move is rewarding, at least for WAG. On the high ground, multiple angles to work with. ABCD somehow sneaks a shot in. And the biggest winner might be Team Falcons, because they are right behind WAG, and they know that WAG is preoccupied. So now WAG needs to make a choice on who to take on first. And Pina takes out the Zom.
Oh, they're starting to run out of Glue Walls here. 5 in hand. But they've already lost Cyrus and PLSL1. They don't have the options. Falcons just in the god spot right now. And also finding a hell of a run of eliminations, right? Pina, he is a little low, but he still is able to get back on his feet with the help of On Fire to keep him topped up, ensuring that even if he gets shot, he will survive. Falcons will eventually have to move from this space eventually, but not right now. Flash, they've held strong for the time being, and they've done well enough. But this allows WAG to reposition themselves. They were taking so much fire earlier, but they can't afford to take any more.
They have the favor of the circle, but they don't have the numbers. Flash and Falcons, I think Falcons, are they down? I think they're down 1 man. They certainly are.
They got the
They got
revive.
him oh, they did. So he's still back in action. So only WAG is crippled in terms of numbers, but Team Flash are doing a very good job of just suppressing Team Falcons. And that would end up buying time for WAG. If WAG can just hold off long enough, they might be able to make it to a safer spot down the circle, as Team Falcons recognize that, so they make the move. But the Zom intercepts Pina mid-rotation, and Pina certainly will go down, right? No, Kiroro providing assistance, but it's not enough. Pina goes down, and WAG goes on the offense. With the help of Team Flash, the Riptide Rhythm comes true. On Fire responds to the T-Quay. X4 now has the heal back up, but On Fire gets knocked down. And to the end of it, Falcons, even with the best position, falls victim to Team Flash, will now swarm in and claim the round. Is a booyah for Team Flash.
Booyah for Team Flash. They come out on top. Decisive decision making, clean execution when it comes down to their fights. They know exactly what to do when they're stacking the odds against one particular squadron. You see how clean they are when they get the angles to abuse their abilities.
Unfortunate for Team Falcons, third round in a row, but they finished second place despite having the best possible chance to win the final round. But again, they've gotten more than enough eliminations to make up for the 3 points that they lost from placement. But credit given where credit is due, Team Flash managed that final circle incredibly well.
They did. They forced out the movements from GOW first. They recognized WAG as a potential threat. They hurt the numbers. They didn't have to move at all. They held strong, holding their position. This is the Team Flash that we know. And hopefully they continue up with these types of performances, right? Because it's tough to see them bow out early. They're not the best when it comes down to raw firepower. They're really good when it comes down to the macro.
Yeah, even way back then, Team Flash is known to be a more tactical, a bit more slower team. They did attempt at some point to try and get aggressive and try to really, kickstart the action, but it hasn't really worked out for them even until now. And I did say at the start of, before the map started, Team Flash at one point is very comfortable on Bermuda, and I'm glad that they were able to get the booyah off of this round, despite not having as much elimination as everyone else. But again, the way that they managed that final circle was second to none.
Yeah, it was so good, especially with Falcons having basically the God spot there. I mean, only at the very end they had to rotate off of it, but like if, if Flash didn't pick off Pina as many times as they did, I definitely think that Falcons would have eliminated WAG first and then looked for the full fight against Flash at the end, assuming this all fell into the talons of the Falcons.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Falcons they were delayed by Team Flash for so long, and that's why WAG managed to live on as well until the circle started moving. So again, just another cascading effect that Falcons really had not much control of. They had a great idea because when they arrived, they were wiping out WAG, they were putting a lot of pressure onto Team Flash, but once those shots started landing, Falcons needed to buy time to get their members back up, and that's where Team Flash decided to just keep on the pressure.
WAG, on the other hand, I mean, they honestly, the fact that they got third position is pretty impressive, right? They held out, especially getting peppered consistently from pretty much everybody, from Team Flash as well as two members of the Falcons. And again, their only decision, hey, let's help Flash actually pressure GOW to make the move in the first place, despite being a pretty significant man disadvantage throughout the very end of that ring.
I think overall WAG, even in the final moments, understanding that maybe they are not going to get the booyah, they took the fight straight to Falcons. I think that was definitely the nail in the coffin for Team Falcons, having to deal with WAG with nothing to lose, and then Team Flash constantly putting on the pressure onto them. But overall, this should shake up the standings, at least in the bottom section a little bit more. Falcons should still be up there alongside WAG, but at least Team Flash starts to make their presence known after the first two rounds where they didn't do as well.
Yeah, the presence has been felt. The presence is, and I definitely think that, Vietnam is really eager to get back onto that world stage once again. But it has been a little bit inconsistent. I think that even for PE, if things worked out a little bit better, they could have been a little bit higher in placements, especially after getting thirded by BTR at the very end there. But let's look at these highlights one more time, right, and relive the action. Because again, as we expected, Kagendra initially started the landing drop against Flash, which again, that's when we see them start to take their time, right? They don't take the lead and run with it, even with momentum on their end.
And I mean, even in this opening sequence, we saw some of the teams that we wanted to see them step up, make some adjustments to the calls they make in game, right? Expand, being able to cut their losses. I mean, even for PE Esports, they were treading the needle a little bit when they went up against WAG, because WAG just didn't land some of the shots that we thought that they would. In the grand scheme of things, for the MVP of this round, we got the Zom, Team Flash, again, the support player of the team with the Cassie, making sure that everyone is topped up.
Hey, support players getting some love finally. Support players, such an integral part of a composition, especially when you're looking for your squadron to battle royale with. I mean, we've already got 2 MVPs back-to-back, so we're leaning in to these types of support players, and the fact that he's using Cassie, keeping it good old traditional, making sure that he can, you know, top up his teammates as he walks into battle alongside them. In terms of damage, not the highest amount, but that's not to be too surprising for Team Flash.
I do wonder if in the future we are going to get another meta shift where Fort doesn't become essential anymore, and then teams will have to take more risks when considering if they want to play with the blue or not, because now a lot of teams are willing to play that game. That's why we get all these late rotations, which is slowly becoming a thing, not just in SCA, but more primarily in the Brazilian region. So we'll see if that's going to happen for the global series. For now, we are team stats. Again, not the flashiest of teams, not with the most amount of eliminations, but that's kind of what we expected from Team Flash. More focus on survivability and making it to the end game.
Again, very tactical and clinical decision making in the macro sense, right? Who to influence, who to target on, and considering that the damage is pretty similar amongst all of the members, it looks like they all have the same idea on who to take out, right? Just to make sure that they can apply pressure at the very end. The Zom does come in pretty clutch as well, especially in the final fights, but generally speaking, their lineup, only ABCD utilizing the Oscar, the rest having Skylar and as well as Coda as well, which is probably why you see them hanging back a lot of the times. When they see their opponents weak and out in the open, they can truly utilize it. They get information from Coda and then instantly start breaking walls with Skylar.
And it's a lot of, not just intel gathering from the Arvon, that is pretty much a given, but they have a composition that allows them to really hunker down in an area, right? You got a Cassie that can top you up, but also you have enough resources to gain info and to stop aggression from your opponents. Of course, the A124 would have been the go-to back then alongside the Steffi, but even with a Cassie Oscar and you throw in the Skylar, it kind of does the same job. 20 points for Team Flash, but also 20 points for Team Falcons, as once more their eliminations make up for lost points.
Yep, second places, but it's very, very consistent for them. WAG as a close second, literally 1 point behind them, even though they got a higher placement overall. 10 points at the end of that game. 10 eliminations, totaling up to 19 at the end of that game. And even GOW, our top 4, again, was finding a lot of eliminations throughout the battles.
With that, today's standing, with Team Falcons still in the lead, 67 points in total. They've been consistent so far. WAG second place with 49, followed by BTR and then PE Sports. EVOS makes it to 5th. Pharaoh remains in 6th spot. The gap between 6 and 7 has closed a little bit, but the overall arrangement of the teams hasn't really changed.
Yeah, it really hasn't. At least for PR, like they're chilling. They're a point behind Evo. It's not that big of a deal. Overall, it's really between the top dogs who are fighting out against each other. But the overall standings, we do see that WAG has now shot themselves up to 3rd place, overtaking RRQ alongside EVOS.
Look at that! Like this is definitely shaping up to be quite a competition already. EVOS starting to really heat up. Todak in 6th spot as well. There were definitely some rounds where I felt like Todak could have adjusted slightly better, but then again, this grouping isn't really the kindest to a team like Todak. Kagendra also struggling despite having some slight moments of brilliance, but unfortunately it just was not enough to carry them across the finishing line alongside Expand, who are both still struggling immensely at the bottom.
If there was a team that you were looking to fight early on, like, it probably would have been Flash, but honestly, it has been really great. I think teams are adjusting very, very well.
Yeah, they definitely are. Again, I want to see more from Team Flash and GOW, because I think these two teams have a lot to prove ever since the Team Flash handed the torch over to new Vietnamese teams, and now it's all just WAG and PE. Pretty sure for a team like Team Flash, who briefly was it like Hua Esports, they definitely have something that they want to prove, and I think for Vietnam as a region, you at least want to have a slot going into global later on, because missing out EWC was already a big blow.
I mean, you know, netizens alongside us, the professional scene is already taking shots at Vietnam, and they're like, okay, all right, we understand we missed out on the international, therefore this fall season is extremely important to all of the teams who are eager to beat the haters, and more importantly, establish themselves a lot more securely on the global finals.
Yeah, not to mention, I remember doing a short interview with Limit and On Fire, and I asked them at EWC which team you feel like, you know, are the weakest, that don't deserve to be at the EWC stage, and they told me the Vietnamese teams because they're not here. I'm like, that's a pretty cheap shot, you know. So Vietnam got to step up. I think WAG is, again, my favorites to do so, but I do wish that the rest of the Vietnamese OGs are able to do that as well.
Alright, let's see whether they can or not. We're waiting at this as this point continues to be brought up. I think in Vietnam, in terms of what we haven't seen for them, is like an all-rounded Vietnamese squadron, right? And I think that's why WAG seems to be the most likely. Hey, with that being said, let's throw it over to our interview with our recent winners.
Now? Maybe?
Could be later, could be now.
Maybe later. Who knows? They're getting ready. Who are we talking to? Falcons? Pharaoh? Maybe Falcons.
Could be Team Flash at this point. But hey, guys, thank you so much for watching. Here's a quick interview with our recent winners here. Let's jump on over and see what they're up to.
Hello everyone and welcome to the interview section, and here we are with Team Falcon. Let them introduce themselves. แนะนำตัวกันหน่อยทีละคนค่ะ
ผมฟอร์คอนพีนะครับ
ฟอร์คอนออนไฟครับ
Here we are with Peanut and On Fire. So let's hop into the first question. So how do you feel about your team performance on the 3 game before รู้สึกยังไงบ้างกับ performance ของทีมใน3เกมที่ผ่านมาคะ
ก็พอใจกับคะแนนครับแต่อยากได้บูย่าครับ
So they satisfied with the score, but they still seek for the booyah. So let's see, next game, will they get the booyah? Okay, so let's go to the second question. So is the second map that limit, have to say that Team Falcon have to face with the Todak, and then limit just jump in them and just got the 2 elim. Who is the shot caller about that time? ในเกมที่2เนี่ยเจอกับตัวของโทดักและลิมิตอ่ะกระโดดเข้าไปคนแรกเลยแล้วก็เก็บอิลิมมาได้2ตอนนั้นใครเป็นคนคอล่ะ
ผมสั่งครับเพราะผมนอนคิดมาทั้งคืนนะครับว่าจะไฟต์ตรงนั้นครับ
So On Fire who is the one who is called limit to jump in because he already dreamed about it yesterday and he already think about it that we gonna fight that time. So let's get to the next question for the last map. They still have 3 teams on there and 2 teams from Vietnam, WAG and also Flash. What happened in that time? Because Falcon close to got the booyah. มาถามถึงคำถามต่อมาในแมปที่ 3 ตอนนั้นเหลือ 3 ทีมมี WAG แล้วก็มี The Flash ตอนนั้นเราดูใกล้เคียงกับคำว่าบูย่ามากที่สุดแล้วเกิดอะไรขึ้น
ก็วงมันดีดกับว่าทามมิ่งมันไม่สวยครับเขามันสูงเกินอ่ะตกเขาครับ
So the zone is go far from them and the timing is not that good. And also they still on the top hill and it's a little bit slippery, so they just fell on that. So the last question for On Fire. We still have 3 game left to play. What is your expectation for the last 3 game? So เหลือ 3 เกมตัวนี้เราคาดหวังอะไรบ้างกับ 3 เกมที่เหลือคะ
ก็อยากได้บูย่าครับเพราะว่าอีลิมเยอะแล้วครับ
So they have to seek for more booyah because they still don't get any booyah, but the elim is already a lot. So let's see, will they get the next booyah? But now, time for a quick break. But don't go anywhere. We will be back and see who is gonna get the next booyah. See you.
Nama aku FFWS SEA dari tim Esports Divine. bonding sama tim lah. Jadi kita punya kepercayaan lebih lah ke kapten, ke sesama. Dari segi aim sih, karena kalau misalnya aimku sih berbeda dari yang lain ya, dan aimku juga bisa bawa aku sampai ke sini. The winners take it all sama smooth operator. Losing someone dear, the winners take it all. The loser has to fall. Smooth operator, gitu doang. Aku nggak ada persiapan untuk fokus gitu, jadi aku emang pure di in game aja, duduk di stage, udah langsung otomat fokus ke itu. BTR tuh ya kita waspadain lah, karena kemarin juga IWC dia sempat mendominasi kan, dan untuk tim luar Buriram, karena mungkin sekarang Buriram lagi udah dapat lagi lah in game. Semoga kedepannya nih kita bisa lebih disiplin, mainnya lebih terstruktur lah, jadi percaya satu sama lain. Mungkin kalau untuk tim-tim lain sih kayaknya harus waspada sih, karena kita lebih pede lah daripada kalian, karena kita habis juara dunia.
Halo, gue Juan dari Bigetron by Vitality. Kalau dari saya mungkin telepon orang tua sih bang, karena itu ya minta restu, minta doa, biar kita mainnya tuh lancar, biar tenang mainnya, gitu aja. Kalau sebelum pertandingan biasanya saya lebih suka ngomong sama tim, karena biar lebih lancar aja di in-game-nya dan bisa tahu strategi-strategi apa yang kita jalani nanti. Biasa dari selesai nelpon orang tua itu udah nenangin diri buat fokus sih bang, karena ya harus cepat fokus buat di in game-nya bisa terbawa enak. Kalau makanan mungkin sih belum ada, tapi kalau minuman mungkin matcha. Karena gue suka matcha itu karena gue matcha lover, dan kalau gue minum matcha itu gue jadi rasa tambah jago gitu. Ya untuk tim gua sendiri, Bigetron by Vitality, semangat aja, saling percaya aja sama tim, dan juga tujuannya kita itu untuk juara, jadi kita harus tetap semangat. Buat semua tim yang ada di SEA, tunggu kedatangan kami, Bigetron by Vitality.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia 2025 Fall Edition. So far, we're already through 3 maps already. It's been an exciting time, especially for Vietnam, who's been trying to rise up in the standings and secure themselves a top spot as soon as possible with me getting Q. And of course, Husky as our co-caster here today. It's really shaking things up so far.
Yeah, it really has been. Most regions have really shown that they are capable of getting a dub or two. You know, Indonesia and Thailand obviously at the top of the chart. But like you said, in Vietnam, they have slowly been showing their fangs. WAG being one of the leaders, and now we got Team Flash, who just got a booyah. Esports also got one at the start of the round, at the start of the day, which means that the competition keeps on getting better. We even saw glimpses of brilliance from the newcomers of Kagendra.
Just a couple of glimpses. We want to see whether they can hit their stride, right? Really find the consistency, especially between groups B and as well as C. And keep in mind that we're going to be rotating these groups every single day for the next couple of weeks as well. So they'll have multiple opportunities to start adjusting their styles according to their groups, because right now it feels like they're not finding much ground other than some of the hot drops. But when they're not doing a hot drop, they're kind of successful in getting to the later stages.
Yeah, some of these teams are just a lot more, again, a lot more slower. They hard drops, not their strong suit. We've seen that in, again, Team Flash, one of the best examples of a team that prefers playing it slow. But for a team like WAG, over time, just watching them across the few seasons that they've been in the circuit, that they are getting a lot more aggressive, a lot more confident in the way that they approach the game. I think right now, out of all the Vietnamese teams, WAG is the team, the only team right now that is willing to really take the fight head on and have a good chance of winning it. We talk about the role swap of Xbor as well, no longer the dedicated primary sniper, that now goes over the PLS1, but it has been working out well so far for the team.
I mean, their early engagements have been extremely good, but do they have to take every single engagement that they do come in contact with? I think that's the very big question to see whether or not they can break this current plateau, because they're not making it into the later rounds with their full fighting force, which again hurts a lot of teams' odds, especially coming into the last couple of rings, especially against teams that have the full man advantage, right? I think at this point, if they can just figure out whether or not they can disengage from specific fights, I think this team can definitely grow some more.
Yeah, even when you see how they were taking some of the harder fights, right? The formation itself from WAG is a lot more refined than we are used to seeing. Again, PLS1 has really been one of the new kids on the block that is taking over the primary role of Export pretty well. Even for PE Sports, we saw Nero and Nolan really pulling out all the stops in the opening round. But when you look back at the local teams like Toda, there's still a lot to be desired, right? There are moments, again, like players like Noki who got loaned out, came back to Toda, and really bringing the experience back, taking initiative in some of these fights, even against the tougher teams. But the rest of Toda, they gotta be able to back him up, because we're still seeing some errors where they make some very interesting calls and rotations that ended up costing them the fight before it even starts.
It really does. It doesn't feel like we've gotten to see the full extent of the squadron just yet. And the same can be said about PR. I feel like we haven't seen everything that they're capable of doing. Now, Flash, on the other hand, yes, they have been targets of a lot of hot drops because of their micro. They're not exactly the most mechanically destructive teams, especially in these Clash Squad modes. It's interesting to see them play the way that they do, right? Because the question now comes down to how consistently can they make it into those end rings to have those surgical attacks against their opponents, just to be in full view, line of sight, to get dumpstered on by a bunch of active skill cards.
And that's why I think the way the Team Flash approaches the game, even with the utility that they have, is really meant to not go full aggressive, but is able to withstand the punishment coming in from other teams. And sometimes you see when they get thrown into disarray, when they start losing the formation, the roles kind of get mixed up. You don't really know what exactly the idea is for Team Flash, and that's something that at least wasn't present in the previous round when they won. Team drop points for Bermuda. From Bermuda just now, we saw Evos, Falcons, PE Sports, that all dropping, preferring the northern side of the map. But funny enough, for Evos, they didn't really follow through that to follow through with that too much. I know Team Falcons dropped near Graveyard and Graveyard, but Bigatron was nearby as well. Let's see if that changes in Kalahari, because we all say this is the Indonesia playground.
It really is the Indonesian playground. Something about this map kind of gives them strength. Maybe it could be the weather, it's tough to say, could be the sand, could be just the vertical heights and the fact that you can use that grappling hook so often, not only to cover distance, but gain that extra bit of verticality. We've seen plenty of teams kind of play around the Indonesian squadron playstyles by, again, hovering around local top spots like a refinery, for an example, or avoiding it entirely, playing it towards the eastern side of the map.
Yeah, and I think for Kalahari, if I remember correctly, if RQ isn't playing, the next team that takes over refinery might be PE Sports. Like, there are some Vietnamese teams that have an affinity with that area as well. As long as RQ isn't in play, they would take that spot. And even for RQ, we've seen how they approach refinery over I think the last season leading up to EWC. Back then they would stay at refinery and take control of that area, but right now they would go refinery, they'll drop there, but then they will pivot to, I think, the southern side of refinery before tracing the steps back. Let's see if that's going to be the case. If PE Sports is going to take over refinery in this game.
Well, let's find out here. Again, the Indonesians have dominated this map for far too long, and we need to see another contender, another challenger to try and take their spots as we go to the hottest map. It's Kalahari. Let's see how the flight path is going to start looking like. Right through the middle, nothing to worry about, but refinement is going to be the big one here. EVOS Divine looking to go to confinement. They send Koja from BTR over into Council Hall alongside, yep, that's the full squad dropping into Council Hall. Refinery, yep, PE Sports look to be the one to take control over it.
So nothing much has changed. Confinement for EVOS, their usual drop spot. Council Hall for Bigatron, one of the few areas that if you have a hard drop and it happens at Council Hall, you have to be ready to fight to the death. It's not an easy area to get out of. Santa Catarina for Pharaoh, again, nothing much has changed since we last saw them. Kagendra hard drop against Expand. This is going to get very dicey. Both teams at the bottom. And unfortunately, maybe only one of them could make it out of the maze.
I feel like Kagendra is just going through... Oh, first blood already achieved by PE. Even before the hot drop engagement begins between Expand and as well as Kagendra. Right now, I feel like Kagendra, they're just going through the lists of teams that they could potentially hot drop, right? We've seen them go against Flash already. We've seen them now up against Expand. I feel like they're just taking this week to go through the rounds.
Yeah, they're just basically, trying to scope out their opponents. Also this time with WAG showing up, the dynamic completely changes. Although WAG ended up losing Cyrus as Erupt cleans him up. So WAG knows that there's more than just Expand around the corner. They drop the UAV, deploy it overhead. Kagendra, biggest winner of the entire event. 3 eliminations. Now number 4 might come through. CT7 just needs to get the takedown. Quick blue wall. Luffy jumps out, takes the challenge. CT7 outmaneuvers him. Round the corner, then too easy for Ralph. Shows up and gets another takedown. Kagendra off to 5 points.
They're utilizing the cover very well from the side of Maze. It was a good idea from Todak to actually use the grapple hook to close the distance, but now Tikoi, he needs a little bit of help. Export as well as Cyrus are almost there to back on. 2K just needs to buy a little bit more time as the time turner has already been used, finds the initial headshot onto one and continues to push forward. WAG now with a man advantage, knowing that Inup is actually nearby, are slowly whittling his glue wall down, forcing him to use the second, but it's just too late. The angles are covered.
And that's probably going to buy enough time for WAG, and Cyrus did get revived. Only with P90 in hand and 2 blue walls. Team Flash wiped out. We get to see what went down, but very early exit for a team that just got the booyah in the previous round. WAG continues to duke it out, with Kagendra taking firm control over this area. They did sustain heavy damage and lost 1 member in the process. As long as Kagendra can survive this, they would have a great chance getting more points.
Yep, it's a 2v3 right now. They sent one of their Kagendra members, launched them over to actually disengage from this fight. Now we quickly cut on over to GOW as well as EVOS Divine fighting by command, and immediately we see that RIP gets knocked down and eliminated straight away as we cut back to WAG, slowly taking the charge against the last couple of members from Kagendra. Easy for Ref, he's just trying to buy as much time as possible. They already have their insurance policy already coming into place, and Revive coming down for Cyrus and as well as Tukoi. A lot of time wasted here by WAG.
That's the difference maker, having access to the vending machine and cutting Kagendra away from that area. Ensure that even though Kagendra had a good start, they just were not able to keep it up simply because they do not have access to that revive mechanism. Easy for that actually gets found out by Expand along the way as well off screen as Pharaoh finds their first victim in the form of Demon. So this the sub completely taken control over by Pharaoh, and it's probably just a scout from GOW. So that gives some info over to God of Wolf, but overall for Pharaoh they should feel very comfortable here.
Yeah, but now we go on over to BTR. They've already taken out Putra almost straight away. They're looking for another opportunity to get their shots back in. But BTR, they're just going to jump right at them. They're chasing them. They're not giving them a chance. They know that Zyru's all by himself, forcing the Onyx Olympus members to break apart, play to live.
And that's going to give Kyung some good opportunity to shoot down Zyru. We saw Zyru attempt to lob a frag grenade, but the glue wall went down too fast. So Kyung finds the third point for BTR. Kagendra and Expand. The saga continues. Luffy does make contact. Easy for them. Needs some time to heal back up, and he has plenty of depth to work with. Fortunately, the utility from Luffy not really connecting the way that he wanted to, and there's a separate member of Kagendra on top of the mountain. So either way, he is outnumbered.
Yeah, interesting. They are by Mammoth currently, and the rest of the Kagendra members will slowly start coming on from that northern side, from that height. Almost immediately, Rama able to bring back Luffy straight away. That's information discovered, and they are the ones sitting on top of Refinery anyways, right? So they know what's going on. They know what's happening towards the south side where PR was. Maze has been taken control over by WAG. At this moment, now that they know that PR, wait, actually moving over to the ridge at this point, it looks like they're taking their rounds, right? A lot of teams playing on the outer ring, just hunting for as many members as possible, as GOW is getting peppered down as well by even the members of Kagendra.
Yeah, for a map like Kalahari, that usually is slightly slower in terms of pacing. There surely are a lot of actions. It's been ongoing for 6 minutes straight. Another revive for GOW as Akoi gets brought back. Expanded the horizon. I think Evos might have seen them already. Onyx Olympus now will come into contact with Team Falcons on fire. Hughes back up off screen. Kororo on top of the roof. Sees Zyro, who just got revived not long ago, passing by. And just a good pinch of a Crime MKS takes out Kororo. Pina springs into the action, takes out Crime in exchange.
Oh no, Peanut, he tries to isolate straight away, but the Oscar breaks through his glue walls to try and back him up and try and deny him the initial knockdown, but Peanut just a little bit better. He has to find out against Zyru as well, gets down. Will he get traded by the help of On Fire? He does, and now forcing another 1v1 once again. Where are the rest of his members? Now, do they have the angle? And it looks like with the huge UAV, it does make the difference.
It certainly does, and Team Falcons able to stave off Onyx Olympus because that was about to look ugly. With On Fire being isolated, but Limit was able to provide backup from afar. Once they lost sight of him, Limit gets to do whatever he wants. See if Adam can get out of this predicament, either win that fight or make it into the building. One shot would do it. Limit treads the needle again. Onyx Olympus out in 10th.
Disgusting shots coming out from Limit. Really disgusting shots. He has been on fire for quite some time now, and he really truly feels alive with this team. Now as he continues to regroup with the rest of his members here, they control the northeastern side of the map from Console Hall all the... Wait, hold on. That's GOW members flying on in. I'm pretty sure that wasn't a launch pad. I'm pretty sure that was just a revive. Probably not the best spot.
Yeah, it's a very awkward position to be in. Export actually found Laupo too. LBT on the low ground, tries to go on the escape, but yeah, they should be able to catch up to him. Not really sure if you are escaping from the 4th Hokage. Launch pad out, LBT and Nero split up. Cyrus takes care of Nero. LBT once more, just like the previous round, escapes. Nolan tries to help, but one is all he gets and he doesn't convert into anything. A triple for Tikui, WAG with 6 points.
Oh, so many teams getting picked off here. So many free elimination points being handed out so early on here in Kalahari's side. We now cut back to the northeastern side as the GOW member still scrambling around. Now having to face off against two teams. It's BTR alongside with the Falcons. And they already found Rip, so one problem out of the way. And now they have to deal with BTRs. Kyung already goes down. Pina is able to take out Dix as well. Dian is able to get RIP back up just in time. So GOW has an insurance policy. But with On Fire down, Limit and as well as Keroro need to continuously apply pressure, and especially with Pina watching over On Fire and Keroro, who's currently on the low ground. Koja taking some damage here, honestly absorbing a lot of the ordnance being thrown in by Pina. Hopefully Dix doesn't get knocked, but he does! And now they jump on the top, taking control over the high ground.
Yeah, it's the secondary frag not spotted out by BTR, and that's gonna allow Falcons to finally spring into action. Kuro does get knocked down by an ability. Falcons losing a bit of member, but in the grand scheme of things, they do have the hell bar to work with unless Kyung can hold the fort, but it's just too tough. BTR put up a good fight, but Falcons were just better.
They were just better. Oh my goodness. It was a 1v2 scenario, and honestly, the fact that Pina was able to get so... Oh, again, who carries that many nades? Who carries that much ordnance to flush out an entire team on that top side? Just a great scenario to be in for the Falcons, especially once they saw that initial pick. Instantly, low ground members quickly scale up with the grapple hook.
Just quick resets for them. WAG 7 under their belt. See, Expand right in front of them. I haven't really seen Expand engage in a full-fledged fight just yet. Most of it that they were a part of, either they were third party or they lost flat out, but with that shot onto the back of Tikui, that is going to prompt a response from WAG at command post. Also a hot area for teams like BRU that likes to take over this spot, but with their absence, teams like WAG usually would be the second, the heir to this place. See where the circle closes in. If it goes to command post, it would be great, but no. Shifts over to where Evos, PE, and Ferrov are at.
Yeah, and WAG want to be real quick on this, right? They do see a couple of compounds they can work with just on the edge of command posts that they can hide in. Kagendra on the further southern side, still tanking the blue, should be able to get on out of there in just a little bit. Even Pockmark just to restock on any missing supplies at this stage of the game. Now, from this point onwards, eliminations are so key. Having a man disadvantage really hurts the odds because there's so little POIs to control at this stage.
That makes these kind of buildings a lot more important. On Kalahari, they are a scarce resource. Falcons actually losing bodies. GOW from long range taking advantage of Falcons' unawareness of where they are, and suddenly Keroro is the only one left standing and scrambling for any chances of survival. No coins in tow, so even with the vending machine nearby just now, he could not bring anyone back. 9 medkits, a grenade, I think no glue walls.
Yeah, no glue walls as well. He's running on 0 resources. Even with the pockmark in hand, there's nothing you can do with it without the currency, right? And now, as we see, EVOS, they've already secured their spot. They're trying to get as much information about the outside as possible. It looks like the sub, oh wait, no, it's Santa Catarina at that point. Especially, Kagendra as well, walking up against PE. This eastern side is looking very dangerous. Kagendra, unfortunately, don't walk into the trap that PE has set for them, and now just lobbing the ordnance inside, chipping at them one by one, and Ira already found one.
Oh, the Oscar! The Oscar dashes through!
He breaks right through that wall, and PE are just done for. Too close together. They tried to cut sound, but oh man. Kagendra, a little too smart walking into that. They saw the members, they reacted accordingly, and immediately punished them for sticking too close together.
That is just unlucky for PE Sports. They had the intention to save themselves, but they ended up boxing themselves in, allowing Kagendra to just bombard them with utilities, and that one valiant dash to really, put the nail in the coffin. And Kagendra now looking incredibly solid. They ended up alleviating EVOS from the pressure earlier on, but they put themselves in a position where they could take over the southern side of the circle, which they are already in control of. Luffy getting a shot in the back. Couple of medic gun to top him back up. GOW now aggressors.
The question is, does Expand hold their position, or do they keep themselves in check? They've got the zone right behind them, and it looks like they're starting to make a move as GOW takes the space from that northern side, but it just means that WAG will find them wide out in the open, and PS1 already finding a member of Expand.
Especially have the logo to work with, Glue Wall Melter, just in case WAG can let this happen. Deanne decides to chip in a little bit from behind, and Expand now finds themselves trapped. Really no good angle to work with. They could stay on the low ground and deal with GOW first. That seems to be the easier choice. But with them trying to relocate, Demon just gets free shots in. Expand essentially have ran out of options.
Yep, they are pincered in. Nothing they can do with WAG in the wakes. Now Demon, he backs on off because again, he's got a really powerful position knowing that WAG is on the opposite side. He hears the initial jumps and now he sees them, takes the high ground, takes a shot at WAG and also spots out Expand still on that low ground. They could look to play in the compound on the left side, but they gotta make sure that Expand doesn't creep around them.
And that's why Demon is making sure that he buys his distance. Kochiu ends up getting a shot through vaults. And for GOW, they land the final blow. Expand finally taken out of the equation. WAG needs some time to recover. POS1 gets picked up. Cyrus needs time to heal. Passion cells, the band-aid still plentiful in the inventory, at least for T-Quay. 8 of them, plus 4 glue walls. And they let Evos do the heavy lifting. Demon gets knocked down. WAG with a bit of a shoulder boost now gets more intel.
Gets more intel, but that could cost them his life here, right? GOW, oh, they give up the angle rather having the extra bit of cover to their right side to ensure that WAG doesn't get free shots. They're more worried about EVOS, who currently has a prime position with Kagendra literally just behind them on the southern compound.
See, we say Kagendra is in a powerful position, and they still are. It's them, EVOS, and Pharaoh. Obviously, EVOS' back is a lot more high risk. Depending on where WAG moves, seems like they are going to run into Kagendra, and Kagendra was ready to receive that. Makes it look easy. A couple of shots, WAG members start falling like flies as T-Quay now turns his attention over to GOW, but Cougar from behind, double retire rhythm, takes down all the glue walls on the side of Kagendra, but their back at least is still protected, so they get to focus on WAG, who are coming in, but T-Quay somehow slips through the cracks and ends up in the building with EVOS not knowing where he is.
They don't know. They're not walking in. Both Kagendra and as well as EVOS have the same idea. Play towards the outside as much as possible. Make sure that their backs are clear. Keep their bodies close to the wall as he's already gotten hit by a couple of shots, and Gochio does find T-Quay finally at the end. Now, you see that the ring is running towards that right side, and they'll be moving in just a little bit here. EVOS need to make some decisions. They know that Kagendra is on their right. They know that Pharaoh is actually up against them as well, but what they don't know is that Pharaoh actually has a 2-in-2 setup. They've covered a lot of ground, but EVOS has no way of telling because Kage is just keeping them in place. And now with Aim Guard right on that top side, they start to farm up the Kage members one by one.
And that's a 2-pump. 1 shot, 1 knockdown. Aim Guard making full use of the M590 Aim Guard. Now on the low ground, suddenly Kagendra have lost control, even though just now we saw the probability, 41% to win the round has completely evaporated unless Pharaoh buys time and space for Kagendra. On their own accord, EVOS rotating to the southern side to take the fight out to Pharaoh, completely ignoring Kagendra for now. Let's see if it bites them in the back. Cougar wanting to make sure he doesn't pay off. A sandwich attack from front and back. Aim Guard around the corner too, but the glue wall is making it hard for Pharaoh to engage.
Wait, Kagendra, they can get involved into this. They can decide because EVO's now looking to regroup as PR Dawn alongside Zensis trying to close them up, but their backs are open towards Kagendra. And Kagendra are taking out the members of Pharaoh who had no idea they were there in the first place, allowing EVOS to actually recover. Now, it's a 2v3 scenario. EVOS, they need one of their lower members to recover, so it's all up to them. They've managed to bring back the 4th member as EVOS, they do get 1 down, but it's now turning into a 3v1 scenario, and they close it out with the booyah. Nice and quick by EVOS Divine.
Good stuff from the EWC champs, EVOS Divine, with the 2nd booyah of the day. Making it look easy. Got a bit dicey towards the very end, thanks to Pharaoh, but the Aim Guard was the one who started off the entire chain reaction. It's just Kagendra, like you mentioned, not aware of where EVOS' position are, and Aim Guard made use of that small window. 2 knockdowns that converted into 2 eventual takedowns, weakened Kagendra, softened them out, allowing EVOS to focus on the fight ahead to take out Pharaoh as the circle moved in their favor before Kagendra had a chance to prep.
It was a good choice coming in from Kagendra, right? Because, again, you don't want to hit the strongest team there. You don't want to hit the weakest team there, and then eventually you're going to decide who is second place by attacking Pharaoh, knowing that they were the hard aggressors and the ones who actually initiated moving first against EVOS Divine to box them out as the ring was rotating. They wanted to give themselves an opportunity if and only if PR just got a couple more knockdowns onto EVOS Divine. They got close, but not close enough.
Yeah. But Kagendra, this was the best round that they've shown us so far today. For not too shabby for a debut, finishing in second place and again making some very, very good movements. Kagendra, remember at the start of the round, they were in some very nasty situations, some extended three-way fight. They made it out of that, and I think the best sequence was how they dealt with Esports. Just perfect understanding of the 4v4 of the terrain and the resource management. It's just that up against EVOS, it is a tall mountain to climb, but Kagendra again showed us some good moments.
They're showing that they definitely know how to push buttons, right? They know how to, they've got the mechanics to even find picks against some of the best around so far. So it's good. It seems once they have the information, they can actually utilize it against their opponents well. They're showing a lot of good stuff. The question is whether they can be as consistent as that, right? Because again, they didn't exactly go for the initial hot drop like they usually do. Oh wait, no, sorry, they did. They lost out and then they decided to recover. So is this just the idea for Kagendra to be like, hey, let's just test out against our hot drops against a list of teams and then look to play to survive later down the line, assuming that we survive?
I mean, there is a possibility. It is still week number 1. There are some chances for teams to test things out, and that's also a very interesting thing about new additions to the league, right? They come in and immediately they have to start dealing. They have to start remembering where the drop spots of the veterans are. And then when you realize that it's the same, you got to make a decision. Do we change or do we hot drop them? And I think that's kind of the conundrum that Kagendra and Magna Esports eventually will have to deal with. But Kagendra have shown that they can hold their own fort. And this is a good sign for the players themselves, right? It's a big confidence boost.
It definitely is a confidence boost, right? I just want to see whether or not they can be true contenders. We've seen a lot of teams come in and out of the league very often, and unfortunately, only 1 or 2 players, most of the time just 1 player is picked up by some of the bigger teams at the end of the day, right? But so far, based on what we've seen, these early fights have been looking very, very vicious, right? A lot of teams are hot dropping each other. It's not just Kagendra who's getting a part of the action. We're seeing fast rotates coming from all of the teams into each other, especially when we're talking about like the Onyx Olympus, the EVOS Divines, which our Aim God MVP comes up on top. 6 eliminations, 2,451 damage with 5 knockdowns.
Living up to his name for sure, the Aim God. One of the few veterans. I think he has been with EVOS for quite a long time. It was only a matter of time before he eventually found success, but his early days were quite rocky. I think he was with EVOS since 2023, so yeah, it's a 2-year stint with EVOS Divine. But I remember when he joined EVOS up till now, they never really got too far in the local league. You know, 7th in 4 season last year, 13th in global finals, and then their best result was actually a 3rd and 4th in Clash Squad in spring, and a 7th in Battle Royale before they even won EWC. So it's been a long time coming for the captain of EVOS.
Very long time coming. I mean, the fact that he's already tasted victory, he is more than happy to keep on with his current squadron. Hey, I mean, the rest of his squadron is doing pretty good. 3-3 coming in from Ray, but 2,159 damage overall with 8 assists alongside with Cochille, able to bring it up to 2,121 in terms of the damage numbers. Only Russia, considering that this should be a more long-range oriented map, probably should have had a little bit more damage, but considering fight after fight after fight, pretty consistently for each of the rounds for EVOS.
And I remember me and Neptune, we were having this discussion, and I think the hallmark of that separates a good and a great sniper player is when push comes to shove, when you're forced into close range combat, most sniper players struggle in that regard, right? Because they are so used to playing from long range, but a great sniper player can know when to adapt, and I think we've seen it from players like Moshi, for example. He's the prime example, at least in terms of veterans who have mastered both arts. I think that's something that is going to take Rasha to the next level. He hasn't been put in a position where he needs to do that often because his front line was able to hold up But when push comes to shove, hopefully we get to see Rasha transition further into that.
I would like to see that a lot because, again, it's something that really sets apart a sniper from everybody else. We've seen it being done by some of the best, like Moshi, like you mentioned, but even people like Limit as well. Honestly, during the rehearsals, while he was just screaming and having a little bit of fun, he was doing it pretty consistently. It was rather scary to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, he did win the FFWS Bangkok with the great 1v3 clutch. I've never seen a sniper player do that, and that was kind of one of those few moments that a few years ago would have been the highlight of the century, but now more and more players are getting used to it. I mean, we cannot forget that Brazil also has their rising star, albeit for two EWCs in a row. They never got to touch the trophy, and I'm talking about loss. But maybe on the global stage, when we bring the global finals back to SEA, hopefully we get to take the trophy back too with the talents that we have cultivated. Overall standings, Esports is now first place.
The Esports in a very comfortable spot at 137 PR, just below them at 129. But EVOS with this win is going to push them back into the contention for that top spot. Again, these teams are very, very close by each other, but the big gap, as you mentioned, usually starts from the 6th place onwards. But for the most part of it, yeah, things have been going rather smoothly for our top tier teams. And the bottom side, even Onyx Olympus, to a certain degree, has not been finding much success in these past couple of maps.
Yeah, Onyx Olympus really, for them to catch up, they're in 8th place, but to make it to 7th, that's where the point gap starts to show, right? And Onyx Olympus, they haven't really been having a good day so far. You know, there were moments where you feel like Onyx Olympus just felt very, very lost to a certain degree, even up against the likes of Kagendra earlier on in the previous round. It felt like they weren't really sure of what they wanted to do, what the call is, despite most of the members from EWC is still, for Spring and EWC are still around. Perhaps this is an adjustment period for Onyx Olympus, and thankfully it is just day 2 of the first week.
But it's still rather surprising that they would be in this particular shape, right? Especially after winning Spring, we hoped for so much more from them coming into EWC, but it looks like they kind of regressed in that regard. I don't think it's the stage fright. There's got to be a deeper issue that's causing them to hit this plateau.
Maybe the new addition is going to help them out. I mean, we still have, you know, one of the few prodigies, like Crime is still with the team, Crime, Adam, and Zairu. But it's more of how is, you know, Putra in this case, who was fielded in the main force, going to fit in. Because even for Crime, when he was one of the first few imports that a Malaysian team has ever made, you know, when Xpan brought him in, he actually sort of carried Xpan at the global stage in 2023. And now back in Indonesia, at one point he was hot commodity for RRQ, who wanted Crime on their team, and obviously that didn't work out, so now he's with Onyx. But it feels like there's something missing from them right now, and I can't really put my finger on what it is.
Yeah, it's really tough to say. It's really tough to say what that's going to be. Hopefully, if we give them some time, they continue to show us what that's going to start to look like. Because right now, it feels like there's not much of an identity coming up from Onyx Olympus, and I think having a strong identity definitely helps within the earlier stages of FFWS.
Plenty of time for the adjustments to be made. Like, some of the roles are very defined. We know that Crime is going to be the front. Adam is going to be supporting him. We gotta see how Putra fits in. We've seen some of the moments of him on screen, but unfortunately it hasn't really been the good ones, right? Todak in good spirits, WAG more deep in thought than they were at the start of the day. Even for Team Flash, after that round number 4, definitely doesn't seem too happy with how they bombed out right after a Booyah.
I mean, the Booyah curse is still in effect, right? And no matter how much we try to stay away from this superstition, it always seems to keep showing itself at the worst possible times. And can't really change that. Just a little unlucky sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it do be like that. There are some teams that, you know, they get a Booyah and then they get off to a very rough start in the following round, and then really challenges you to play from behind, and not many teams get to recover from that spot. Even for Team Falcons, well, unfortunately, round number 4 was the worst round that they had so far today. They finished 2nd 2 times and 3rd once, but round number 4 from Kalahari definitely felt tougher for them. And it's pretty weird because Falcons generally has a good record on Kalahari.
Yeah, generally speaking, they should have had a better time. I would have imagined that they had a better time as well. But let's look at our today's player head-to-head. And if we're talking about snipers, it's the Wonder Kid, Russia, up against WAG's X-Bor. In current elimination score, Russia's got to beat by just 3 eliminations, but there are more rescues coming out of X-Bor, and the damage is led by Russia.
Not even close. Russia is just putting out numbers, even though it's only, like you say, 3 elims apart, but the amount of pressure that Russia puts onto his opponents is miles ahead of X-Bor. Again, X-Bor, he did have a slight role change coming into this season. Maybe that's why you don't see the damage as much, but still for his current role and one of the premier sniper players from Vietnam, to be able to keep up with Russia is quite a feat.
It really is. It really is. We saw how deadly Russia can be with the with the sniper rifle in his hand. Any sniper rifle. I was going to be specific with it, but honestly, the more that I think about it, like really, there's nothing he can't utilize. Again, he's chocked up full of that Red Bull, zinc, and vitamin from Thailand, which is a supplement, which is supplemented by zinc, B3, B6, and featuring a mild taste that helps players stay highly focused and seize every opportunity to achieve that stylish booyah victories.
And that is what's going to keep all these players going, right? Again, thank you, Red Bull, for being here with us, you know, from spring until fall. And we're seeing all these players also really stepping up their performance. You know what they say, gives you wings, and these players definitely soaring high. We're gonna head into map number 5 next, and I believe map number 5 is the latest map in the competitive pool. We are heading to Solara.
Oh boy. Some may say that this map is not built for competitive. We say otherwise as we head on in to the land of fun and sun. So Lara, again, this is such a awkward map with 2 huge hills right in the smack in the middle of the map, and with our flight path cutting right by it. Archway and TV towers are incredible positions to play from, but then you start thinking about the things that are on the outer edges. Places like Windmill, places like Station as well. It's the hub is also really powerful as well, considering that there are 3 separate rail paths to hop on depending on where you need to rotate.
And that's what makes this map so unique. Even around Archway, there's literally an entire track that you can take around the compound. Toda against Expand, sharing the same area. And the infighting is going to start pretty early on. Whoever grabs the gun first gets to take the first shot. Vidal had no idea that he has 2 players behind him, but was able to bolt the way fast enough onto the top. But his teammate's not that lucky. Noki getting taken down by Luffy. Shotgun in hand. Seems like Todak planning to respond.
Okay, Noki's already down. Videls is the next to fall. That's unfortunate because Videls was actually the Cassie player. And they do get the initial revive onto Noki's side. Traps doesn't turn the corner fast enough to fall into the gunfire just yet. They still have members. They can still technically fight against Expand, but Luffy as well. Oh, does anybody walk into the line of fire? No, not yet. Not yet. Rama doesn't take the same path as well.
Yeah, good old Vector Akimbo in the hands of Traps. Vault's gonna backtrack in. Traps definitely sees him. Vault smells something up in the air. Wasn't paying attention. Traps springs to life. Finds himself a free point. That's gonna let the rest of Expand. Revives already did come in earlier on for Todak. Let's see if Expand can find that kill. Traps tries to navigate the situation. Now ducks onto the 2nd floor. Might be thinking of dropping down. These close range fights beneficial for the Vector Akimbo as a dome gets laid out and Luffy finds revenge.
Unfortunately, trying to use Oscar's active skill card in mid-air. Honestly, a little strange because he needs like a flat plane to really take full advantage of his abilities to knock into somebody, but it's still a 2v1. His odds weren't very good in the first place. As Team Flash looked to regroup, they spotted out where GOW actually was rotating in towards, but I'm not sure if they're aware of Falcons just north of them.
Doesn't seem like it, because they are rotating up to Windmill, and now they will catch wind of where Falcons might be. It's not that good for Team Flash. They are coming in from the low ground. WAG definitely knows that PE Sports can right across. With the binocular scans towards the northern side, it does clear out the area for WAG. So for now, they know that their backs will be covered. PE Sports takes the launch pad and X-Bor. Plenty of intel relayed. They're not going to take the shot just yet.
Now we cut back over to Team Flash, who takes the top side. Windmill looking down. They probably have already made contact with Team Flash, who's been lingering around for, honestly, far too long. They've already spotted out one of the members on fire, looking to try and crash down his opponents. His back is now finally getting shot. Unfortunately, he's got team members actually backing him up as well. And finally, the Zom takes him out, showing himself at the perfect time. Kero notices it, quickly ducks back into the compound.
Falcons will need some time to reset. Team Flash, the team that caused them problems on Bermuda early on and took the Booyah away from them, and now Falcons down one man will find it slightly harder. Pina around the corner, Keroro really trying to play from long range with a grenade in hand. Just caught a glimpse of the Flash members. That grenade, if it went up earlier, it would have done a lot more damage, but the second one comes through to the second floor. Doesn't make any connection, sadly. And now the jig is up. Flash down to the ground floor.
Yep, I mean, Flash has played it really, really well. They've got one of their members in a far-off place coming back in to be part of this fight. As Keroro trying to hold on, they can't seem to breach the inner workings of this house, right? It's a little too dangerous considering that they have not only no information, but the fact is they can only jump in one by one. There's no multiple entry points.
That's what makes life for Falcons tough. On fire did get brought back. They drop a monster truck as well. Team Flash are the one that decides to back off. Puts them within sight of limit. What a shot! Let's see if we can get a second one. Keroro with the follow-up. That's 2 down for Flash.
Oh my goodness, Limit, what a pick off here. Flash, they just wanted to disengage, and I think they were making the right decision here, considering that the fight didn't escalate further. But now we cut on over to Onyx Olympus, taking on Expand in Aquarium. They're gonna take their time here, as Expand has the low ground. Nairo, he's in position for Crime, actually in a phenomenal position to actually flank them. They just need to stick towards their left side, and that's how they're rotating. They're making sure that they stick to that left side. Now in full excited, they find Vaults, and already they have the pickoffs from behind. Backs wide exposed to Crime. MKS taking free pot shots at them from a far off angle outside, sorry, within the zone, and that's Expand already eliminated.
Unfortunately for Expand, it felt like the fight could have been taken a little bit better, because the Vaults essentially ran out into the open without much cover, ended up in a pickoff, and everyone for Onyx Olympus just out mechanic Expand. Another first exit, another last place exit for the Malaysian team. And Evo's continues this rotation. A more quiet round compared to the ones that we've seen previously today. Haven't really been involved in much fights. But even in terms of arsenal, Koshio doesn't look like he's that decked out either. Only 2 medkits and 4 glue walls.
Lack of resources is a little concerning, but they still have plenty of rails that work upon to maybe get into a more well-looted area. For now, we look at Kagendra, and as well as the members of WAG, who are sticking very close by together, utilizing these rails to quickly transport themselves, but I don't know if they've been spotted. Oh, yep, yeah, they definitely have. Kagendra already knew, but the Oscar Valiant Darts breaking 2 blue walls. Tikwe was not letting him run.
And that is the power of a utility. Tikwe with the active ability skills, they are running the A124 either, so even if Kagendra wants to fight back, there really isn't a way to do so. Not to mention this Skylar Riptide Rhythm making life impossible for Kagendra if they're not ready. Kagendra now down in a 2v1. Unfortunately for Easy for Rough, he will have to sacrifice himself to ensure longevity of the squad. PLS1 gives him the knuckle sandwich, so that's 3 extra points for WAG.
Just some sweet chin music, puts him to bed. And WAG in a phenomenal position. Again, played so well. Now we look at Onyx Olympus. They've been passive the entire round. Oh, not as passive as we thought we were. The 4 eliminations already after their initial battle. I definitely thought that, like, in the early game, they were going to be a little bit more patient the way that they play. Oh, okay. That's just a member of PR just zipping by.
There's a lot of spams from Zyro. Good pre-fire. No cigar there. Onyx Olympus, they have actually a very good angle to rotate. Not really necessary to engage in any conflict, and I believe that's what they will do. BTR also keeping very quiet, but even though Pharaoh has avoided Onyx Olympus, they ended up running into Team Flash. Shinhan with the first takedown.
Okay. As they slowly, quickly, again, they will get the instant revive there. TV Tower has been pretty interesting so far, but as Team Flash continue to again, they're walking in unpunished. I don't think I don't think that PR is going to try and fight them for the spot. I don't think it's worth dying for as well, since there's plenty of spaces to rotate and only the second ring. Considering that it's only the second ring, there's plenty of play area.
Again, I think in this case, if you're Onyx, they should, yeah, they definitely will make it into the safe before Pharaoh. Somehow they ended up in the same area without making much contact. Especially for Crime MKS, it doesn't have the fort as the passive, so you still end up, it would take the full damage off the second ring. No vehicle to work with too. Oh, as I say, there is one that just spawned. There's also the grind rails that they can take if they need.
Yeah, but he's bleeding out really, really fast here. I don't know how long or how much damage he can actually take here. By the hub, we see that Evos Divine has made sure that they're just sticking to the edges right now, taking their time overall. I am curious about BTR, to be fair, but we'll see in just a little bit, because now Evos taking shots coming in from WAG. Oh wait, Esports.
Yeah, they just landed too. And BTR showed up on the radar towards the north of WAG. It could be a four-way fight. Esports, they're beelining towards where Evos is at. Russia just took a huge shot to the chest, needs to heal up for now. The blue just slowly closing in, so if you're Evos, you need to move downwards a little bit just to not tank that extra blue damage, which could make the difference in the long run. And Esports are the ones that takes initiative. That's two members of Evos wiped out in an instant. Russia gets picked up by PLS1 and AimGuard. He's taking the grind rails. He's out of there.
He's out of here. Hopefully, if he manages to live, he's also going to premeditatively use his health kit as well as he slides on, just to tank a bit more of that blue as he goes through. But now it comes down to PE versus WAG with, oh, actually BTR by Vitality. I was just wondering where they were going to be, actually on their northern side. I want to see if WAG decides to fully commit to this fight, but it looks like they're rotating north here some more. Hopefully, we'll come into contact with BTR soon.
Let's see if BTR, they should be okay. Judging by where they are, not really much vision. Zenzi casually slides in. CT7 gets found out. And Zenzi is going to make sure that CT7 gets collected. WAG continues to hold on to this area. No vision on Bigatron. No vision on PE either. This compound very tough to navigate if you are from that low ground. It might end up being PE against BTR first.
Yeah, because again, they're at the same height level. If anybody sticks their head out for too long, they're probably going to get sniped almost straight away. So it's better for them to just hide it within the doors and play on towards the backside of each of their own individual compounds, so they have that vertical look, line of sight towards the high ground in case anything happens. But AimGuard ends up finding one of the members of Kagendra using that Oscar. Oh, it's good, but unfortunately, easy for dead is just a little bit better.
That's going to give Team Flash a bit of a headache to work with, but thankfully they have the medic gun, so Chinhan gets picked back up quickly. They are still in a safe spot, GOW right in front of them. If they want to rotate south side, they can. You see that revive for Pharaoh. Still 40 players remain in this lobby. We are 11.5 minutes in. The circle isn't getting any bigger, so this is going to start to get a lot more messy.
Yeah, again, the teams have definitely slowed down, especially here in Solara. I would have expected more infighting happening a lot sooner within the first two rings, but honestly, a lot of teams are getting in and out of these fights pretty consistently. Now, as we do see that there is engagement down with Pharaoh and I think with Kagendra for that eastern side, the northern side actually being taken care of with 3 members from the side of Falcons. And GOW, they're very nearby. I'm not sure if they are in a... Yes, they're in a house currently, just a small little town.
Just enough to keep them afloat. Falcons making an incredibly late rotation. Well, Kuro is actually still parachuting in. They didn't have the best mid-game either in this Solara map. Kagendra somehow found a revive. Too easy for Dead is back. But unfortunately, it's a bit too late. Look at that. Todak, launch pad, southern side. This next circle is going to determine the trajectory of the rest of the round.
Oh.
And it's smack dab in open ground.
It's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. There's not a lot of natural cover to actually work with within the previous ring or even this ring, right? Only on the outer edges, and Keroro ends up getting his head taken off by Akoy. At this point, Falcons have no real means that really enter. They kind of need to depend on everybody else to bail them out of this scenario unless they want to take the full fight. And now you can see 2 heal guns being utilized to keep Keroro alive as he slowly crawls his way in, and they're utilizing Limit. Oh, who finds the headshot? Fi gets revenge onto Akoy.
What was that from Limit? Didn't even have to use the Riptide Rhythm yet. You let him see a pixel of your model, he's gonna pop you like a balloon. So teams should know that by now, that Limit is one of the deadliest ones we have ever since Moshi was a thing. Team Flash gonna make a move towards GOW. Grenade in the hand of Dian. Shinhan gets knocked down again, courtesy of Demon. Grenade now gets thrown out. We see the Steffi light up the area, but Demon is alive. ABCD now gets knocked down. More time spent to pick him back up. ABCD back to basically full health, and that Hong An with the grenade launcher takes out Akoy, and Team Flash now will spring into life. GOW losing members. Dian with the retaliation finds 2 members, but also takes himself out. But somehow GOW are still hanging on by a thread. Is Demon with a shotgun in hand against the Zom and ABCD.
Oh, the nade! It's close, but not good enough as they try to push on in. Keroro is actually finding his own shots. Team Flash ends up getting eliminated. GOW hold off strong. Pharaoh, the next to fall as Tona collapses right into them. I can't believe GOW pulled that off as Nolan is finding his own free shots onto Tona. Fish in a barrel.
Then that was the worst possible outcome for GOW. Team Falcons reap some of the rewards. They definitely needed that with how that mid game went. Nero with a good nade onto Export 2. Keroro decides to chip in. They give him a gun and it immediately delivers. Kyung also gets knocked down. Falcons are having so much fun playing on the northern side with no one contesting them.
Yep, and all of it. Wait a minute, somebody just threw a Riptide Rhythm at him as well, breaking him open as we see that WAG is trying to pick up as many eliminations as possible before they go down, and they successfully do so as PE gets involved into the battle. It was Falcons this whole time, shooting from across the map, and Onyx Olympus are wrapping around. Limit, he's aware of it though, quickly gets the glue wall and even a shot to show presence. He has to watch out for 2 sides and try to limit their movements as much as possible.
Someone needs to shut down Limit because his accuracy is through the roof. I believe that if they win this round, we see the total damage of Limit, it is going to be massive with the amount of pressure he has delivered. Riptide Rhythm, that's because of Limit, exposing Onyx Olympus. Either you go down by the blue or you go down in the hands of Team Falcons. Onyx Olympus forced to make an executive decision, take the leap of faith with the launch pad. Into the circle, there you go. Monster Truck in the hands of Falcons will make the rotation, and the first contact is going to be Onyx Olympus as PE takes the grind rails onto the top, and Crime finds Lao Ho.
Yep, and now Onyx making sure that their backs are trying to limit whoever's looking at their backs, right? They don't want to get shot by Falcon, but they know they're on the low ground, so that only puts PE at odds against them, which is why they're turning their attention to them. But they have to worry as Keroro and as well as the rest of the members, Pina Keroro, they want to get in there onto Onyx's side using one little generator to keep themselves alive. They're using all their resources, glue wall melters as well as ice nades as they start to push through. Adam, the first one to break through the time turner to try and find an initial pick, doesn't get it, but Nolan ends up taking out On Fire. Zyru takes out On Fire's corpse, leaving Limit and Keroro the only ones left to fight them off.
And once more, Falcons, they get close to a potential booyah, and they get stopped. PE Sports with the finishing blow. And it's now PE against Onyx Olympus. This is the best round that Onyx Olympus has had so far today. But the backs are literally against the blue. Here comes the rush from PE. Zyru barricades himself. LBT2 still finds him. Lao Ho with the second one. Nolan gets picked back up. He goes down, but time has been brought. Lao Ho uncontested as Putra and Crime struggles to deliver for Onyx and somehow brings it down to a 1v1. Is Adam and Crime MKS still alive? And they're able to pick Putra back up too, and Lao Ho realizes that he is in hot water. The probability of PE winning goes from a positive record to 0. Onyx Olympus recovers and finds their booyah.
An amazing recovery with a man fully down after their engagement against the Falcons. They pull this back to their side. Huge plays coming up from Onyx Olympus. Some great timings on the engagement.
Just great stuff from Onyx Olympus with how that round transpired. Could have sworn that PE Sport had the better chance of winning with how much Lao Ho was doing that game, but I remember correctly, Crime MKS was able to shut him down for a brief moment. Because with an enemy sniper that uncontested in the final circle, it is virtually mostly impossible to win. But Onyx made the right choice when push comes to shove and was able to defeat PE Sports when they were at a disadvantage.
Yeah, oh my goodness, it was so close, so very close. Luckily, Zyro was actually able to get off a last Cassie activation before he goes down, right? Topping up some of the members, which is why you see that Adam is still alive with just a sliver of his health. Prime MKS wasn't getting the other half of it, but his flank angle was already so good, right? Collapsing the forward members of PE. Unfortunately for Lao, just a little too far away, right? Just didn't have the angles.
Yeah, just very unfortunate for PE Sports, but still coming in second, right? Even for them, I think they can maintain their spot in the top 3 of the overall leaderboard. But we said that there's a gap between Onyx Olympus and the team in front of them on the overall leaderboard. I think they just closed the gap by a large margin after this round.
Oh yeah, a huge margin in a matter of fact, and hopefully this continues to keep on growing. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case, but here's, as we've seen, that like the only consistent team by far has been, in this particular sense, has been Falcon on every single scenario that they've been put in. Yes, if the mid game doesn't go well, they usually walk over with a man disadvantage, but as long as they still have limit around, they do find a good number of elimination points just lying across the map.
Yeah, it's just, I think the most unlucky part was that of all people that got taken down by a nade, it was Limit, right? He was way too far in front, and Onyx Olympus took advantage of that. But in the grand scheme of things, Falcons, despite missing out another Booyah, that's 4 out of 5 Booyahs that they missed out, they still finished top 3 in a round with respectable amount of eliminations, and that consistency is going to be more than enough to get them through the tough times. And if this was like the champion rush, if this was the grand finals, all Falcons need to do is literally get a Booyah and they would have won the whole thing.
I mean, considering how the lobbies have been going, we'll see whether or not they even find a single Booyah by the end of today, right? They've been thirded on multiple occasions, denied second place multiple times at this point, and I think teams have a sort of understanding. You can see that Onyx Olympus was creeping around the edge against them. They got spotted out, and they're like, okay, change of plans. We're gonna go for like PE. Let's go into the middle of it, and we'll find the timing on the Falcons when that happens.
Yeah, and again, congratulations to Onyx Olympus for getting that Booyah. That is going to be a big morale boost. We were asking how is Putra going to fit in. We did see him, really deliver towards the end, but you cannot take away the fact that Adams, the Prime MKS, the veteran, the big boys continue to push Onyx in the right direction.
Maybe they still got it in them, right? Maybe they still got it in them to steal away another World Series from one of these members here in the lobby today. And I mean, they've been playing exceptionally well this time round. At least for this particular map, they were a lot more effective. They were a lot more proactive as well on Solara, which is really good to see. But in terms of like the raw rotations coming in from the map side, this is one of the few endgame rings that just are pretty awful to play, right? There's just no natural cover to actually work with, which is why we're seeing that some teams are opting to have the chrono ready to go. And then cut back, we see our MVP, Crime MKS, with the A124. The fact that he can shut off abilities really doesn't give you much of a response.
It really made life incredibly hard for Team Falcons too when they went for the rush. And not only that, when they took out Limit, there actually was a Diva on the side. I believe it was on fire. He picked Limit up instantly, but then when Crime MKS rushed in, basically disabled whatever tools the Team Falcons has. 6 eliminations, 2.5k damage. Crime MKS continues to deliver on his front. And this is one of the few assets that when he came to Malaysia, everyone, everyone saw him as the person that's going to take the team that he was in that case, expand to the next level. And we wonder how the experience in Malaysia is going to be when he goes back to Indonesia. I think we are seeing proof of that right now. He is truly one of a kind.
He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. That's why he's holding that trophy at the very end of our intro shots. Our Booyah team stats here for game number 5. The rest of his team is actually trying to keep up with him, to be fair. He's literally got double the damage of a majority. Putra not getting as much damage as he thought he did. 3 eliminations and 4 knockdowns, though. Zyru is the one who's trying to keep up with Crime MKS.
Yeah, it's And just overall, a great round for Onyx Olympus. Then running the Oscar and the Tatsuya. So no Skylar in hand. They basically put the job of Skylar into Putra himself and get up close and personal with the opponents. And this definitely does feel like a bit more like Onyx, right? They're willing to really be in your face, despite, if you compare firepower between them and RQ and them and Evos, there's definitely a lot more to be desired, but the playstyle is pretty refined.
Pretty refined overall, and the fact that they are running the A124 with 2 potential rushers in Oscar as well as Tatsuya, they really need to make that first pick count. And that's what this team is all about, just timings on their engagements.
Really is. At least they're able to find better positions this game. 23 points to boot. PE Sports, despite finishing second, still got 23 points. And Falcons, this time, not as much as they did in the previous rounds. Still a respectable 15 points at the end of the round.
I thought they were definitely going to get some more, but PE looks like Laoho was putting in the work, trying to steal away a good number and a good majority. 14 eliminations they were able to get in that round, putting themselves at 23, tied up against Onyx, but then everybody else. I thought that GOW was doing pretty well, but it ends up that Torak was doing even better. 6 eliminations and 7 placement points, with WAG only above them because of their play, because of the amount of eliminations. 2 eliminations ahead of them.
2 eliminations. That's basically made all the difference. I mean, even for Todax, right? Not too bad. 13 eliminations. They had a decent run. Evos this round, unfortunately, gets nothing, 0 points. So that's going to affect the overall standing just a little bit. But in the grand scheme of things, Evos still, for today's standing at least, finishing 4th. We got Falcons still miles ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, so they're about to break into the triple digits, right? WAG and as well as PE have been on an absolute tear, being some of the more consistent teams throughout the maps along the maps, alongside with Falcons as well. Evos, they've had some extremely hot games, and yes, they were able to achieve 2 booyahs, but it's surprising to see how these eliminations are really stacking up in the favor of the teams who have been more aggressive.
And I think that also kind of shows in Pharaoh, for example. Even though they weren't the biggest star in the night sky, they still managed to stay in the middle of the pack, right? 56 eliminations. There were some definite hit and miss, and you can say the same for BTR too. But on the overall standings, PE Sports at the top of the leaderboard.
And not only at the top, but they're slowly building up a buffer for themselves, with WAG literally 26 points behind them. If WAG has a bad game, PE will continue to create their buffer. And we'll see whether or not they're going to have another massive 20-point game, if they're able to find a booyah of their own, because the fact that they're sitting at 88 eliminations already in comparison to WAG is good enough.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, with that being said, I mean, even Pharaoh finishing 3rd place so far, it's pretty respectable, right? This leaderboard obviously is not fully defined just yet. You know, we are gonna see, like, you know, RQ, BRU play tomorrow. Falcons gets another 6 rounds, but with how things are at least building up to be as we prepare for the last round of day 2, it's pretty impressive that PE Sports are the ones that's leading the charts for now.
But here's the thing, it's always that week 1 which I'm worried about, especially with PE Sports. They've done this so many times where it's like, honestly, they're not doing too bad for day number 1. And I think that generally their first weeks have always been really, really good. This being, you know, definitely on the top for me. They're already setting themselves like a huge buffer for potential phase 2. But I want to see whether that persists, right? Whether they come back the following week saying, hey, now that we're starting to get ranked here, whether or not we can actually push forward, whether we can still retain top 4 consistency with a high number of eliminations, or whether they're going to bow out really, really hard, which is usually what we start to see coming into week 2, week 3.
Yeah, and some teams, they get a buffer by winning a big round, and then they immediately spend that buffer by losing the next round. But then there are teams like Falcons who just keep on building on it. We're going to head into the last round, and it's going to be the snowy Alps of Alpine. See how these teams navigate, because a lot of teams are getting more and more proficient in terms of Alpine. Evos, luckily for the non-believers out there, are not one of it. So we'll see if it's going to open up opportunities for some of the other teams to catch up.
Well, let's see. These opportunities all start with the flight path, which is, again, extremely neutral this time. Cuts right in the middle of the map in diagonal, but it goes through all the key points. Snowfall, is it still reachable? I thought that Todak might actually consider going a little bit further to get it, but they go straight into Garrison, so it's going to be a hot drop fight against Team Flash. Railroad by PE, as well as Kagendra with an Onyx member sending a scout to see what goes on there.
For the stairs, Team Flash against Todak already at Garrison. Todak split up in a 2-2 formation. Tin Han with the first one. And what just happened? Peace was wiped out Kagendra just as Kagendra was about to come alive.
Oh, did they get unlucky, or did their drop loot not be as good? It can't be as bad because right now Todak taking so much damage. Noki, unfortunately, the Riptide Rhythm rips away his cover. And that means that Flash has convincingly taken over the Garrison and now are chasing Videls.
So I better try and get away. GOW also crippled. Plenty of early fights for Alpine at the start. Not really what I expected. Videl was able to avoid that shot. Thankfully, it wasn't limited shooting at him because that would have landed. Another shot, come on. One more would do the job. Videl trying to zigzag his way. Just like in the movies. Makes it out for now and gets into a car and drives away.
Whoa, Videl's just not walking in straight lines, making it difficult for Flash to hit him right in the head, but that just means that Snowfall is open. This is something that both of the squads identified as they flew down to take their initial hot drop fights. Speaking of hot drop fights, Expand still chasing the members of GOW and pincering him in. There has been a substitution. Peter is going to be swapped in. Keroro is going to be swapped out. Whoa! Todak ended up getting eliminated too.
So that's two teams already. No Kagendra, no Todak. Evo just found Team Flash. Around the corner, Death puts the blue wall on one side. Commit the Riptide Rhythm, even though they already sandwiched him. But just for insurance of policy, AimGod finds the second point for the team.
It looks like they're overlooking one of the members coming in from Flash, who is currently by that shore front, right? So he's just chilling. He's trying to make sure no sound is met. ABCD is making his way into the compound that just got dinoculared, right? Another substitution here is Death for the... Oh, sorry. Death is in, the Zom is out. And AimGod, his vehicle is about to blow here. He's got to get on that straight away. Even drops down a Healy UAV as he sees Pharaohs on the opposite end. Where's the rest of his? Can he buy enough time? Doesn't get the initial trade as Rail Kochil go down instantaneously. AimGod, the next to fall, even after the Valiant Dash. He finds one, but that's going to be an instant pickup. And now it's just Russia all by himself.
We did say that this is not Evo's strongest map, but it definitely felt weird with how that entire event went down. Quick binoculars for Russia, an extra 200 coins, get a couple of revives. I believe that's enough for two of his teammates. He has been put in this position for many times, even at the EWC finals, where a lot of times Russia is the one that's keeping his team in the game. Maybe TD with a shot onto ZNC, jump, not standing a chance at all. Death with the takedown, and Cougar left all alone after the earlier fight win against EVOS. They might just fall in the hands of Team Flash.
Oh no, too many off angles, but Cougar is able to get at least 2 revives down. Now it's all up to him to buy as much time as possible. It might just be a little too late as around the corner another member of Flash shows up.
Very unfortunate. At least Pharaoh keeps on going. WAG. This is a order. That's a bounty on T Kui. Not really sure who. Was it by Expand? It feels like it's from Expand.
Yeah, it feels like it's from Expand's side.
Yeah, I think so. They have bigger fishes to deal with. Those who sees this. The head of T Kui, of Luki.
It's a little hard to tell because sometimes there's multiple contracts going on. You're not 100% sure which team actually deployed it. But now we do see that Expand is going to get hunted down here, right? They're moving away from that POI, and unfortunately, Crime MKS is getting blasted. It looks like Expand are aware of the scenario. He quickly hits the deck as soon as possible, as we see that Onyx Olympus, they're not taking as much space as they wanted to after the battle lines have been established. It's a long-range fight between Expand and as well as Onyx.
Around Carousel 2, body of water behind, so not much place to fall back to without a launch pad. Somehow AimGod finding a shot into Huang. So Evo is playing it very slow. They need to find out where Death is. I think Russia has a good idea. considering that he did bring his teammates back after a very, very awkward start against Pharaoh. And just a very nasty shot from Ray. Easy takedown.
Oh yeah, nice and slow, right? That's how this game seems to be playing out, right? All teams have been just taking it nice and slow, finding those initial picks until it's necessary. And unfortunately for Jump, his time is up. Peter finds him, but Jump is brought back by Zensis. So again, we see that the Pharaohs are still in the game. A lot of revives have already been deployed by all teams throughout this match.
Team Flash actually retreating away. Zipline pretty slow. Let's see how much aim guard can get out of this. Doesn't have the right angle, sadly. So Team Flash actually gets a pretty much unscathed. And that means they surrender the entire area around Snowfall to Evos.
They want the low ground at this point, right? And I think that right now, it's only the first ring, considering that already 2 squads are out, and the amount of eliminations that have come on through a pretty fast start for some of these teams, as they're already looking to scout out for the next zone. Quickly going to base camp here for the side of BTR. Natural rotation for them. Plenty of POIs to actually work around in case any teams do start to come through here. For the most part, the only 2 squads that actually have eliminated members, and unfortunately have brought back their members almost straight away, Flash and as well as PE.
Thankfully, they're not contested at all. At least around Malaysia here, still finding extra coins. ABCD stocking up just in case. There's an arsenal right in front. A vehicle to work with. PE Esports continues down south. So Team Flash gets to reset, but finding resources is going to be the main challenge right now for them. They don't really have much to work with.
As things continue to slow down here, we're waiting for that next ring. Once this first ring closes up, the next one is going to be revealed, and we're going to see a lot more movement on this map. It's already been 7 minutes, and teams, they're just posturing up against each other. Nobody really wants to commit just yet. There's just a huge lack of information right now on the distribution of the squads. Okay, the UAV does show. Does that mean that they know that Expand is this close towards them? Does BTR give up the space? They will be met with WAG on the opposite end. Is this an awkward amount of timing? WAG is about to turn the corner here by that windmill. They will come. Oh no, they start turning away! They start turning away! And BTR are now going to be the first ones who see them and shoot through the sky.
BTR, are they going to take a shot? They are trying. Minimal damage dealt. PRS1 taking a minor chip damage. 40 to the back. They reach Sunside. Now the Dynamo clear is used. Sunside is clear. Somehow WAG. The timing looked pretty bad, but just enough time for them to get away, because BTR had the high ground too. But WAG lives to fight another day. BTR, they're not going to pursue this. This is not worth it. But that means that WAG, they free themselves from BTR. They get control of Sunside. BTR actually chases? There's Onyx on the north.
Look, that could have been played in 100 different ways, but Rasha finds a headshot straight away onto a man of Team Flash off screen. Look, if WAG just kept going the way that they were going, and BTR did, WAG would have spotted out BTR first, and they would have high ground. Because they turned around, it gives the initiative over to BTR, and even they weren't able to get there in time. So that could have played out so badly for either one of these teams, both of which I don't know how close they realized that they were to death.
Probably not too far. At least, just judging by the radar alone, I feel like the fact that Flash only lost one is pretty tame. PE Esports still deciding to stick in the same area. I wonder if PE Esports are going to think about rotating. Maybe there's not a need to do so now. They have that small boulder to work with. But if a team comes in from behind or someone else has a lot of utility, PE Esports is not going to be hanging on for too long. That area is incredibly dangerous.
It is. Finally, we get to see the overview of where this next ring is going to be. It is towards the northeastern side of the map. Plenty of play space, but right at the center of it is a lot of high ground, which is why we see BTR, WAG, PE all kind of hovering around this spot. They're waiting for the next ring, and hopefully they win out the 50-50 to be on its side, because if it goes north, there's plenty of compounds to actually play from, but it's really going to be painful for teams like Falcons, teams like Expand to find a spot afterwards if they have to rotate so far north.
Yeah. I'm surprised at Carousel. And the southern side of Railroad is actually pretty empty. Evos could make a rotation there if they want to. Okay, not anymore. With that circle closing in, you have to go down south. Eve was still trying to recover a little bit. Aim got out in the blue. Coach Yu pretty much decked out. I think they're ready to go to the end game if they want to. They just saw Pharaoh leave. So at least they know that that area is going to be cleared out for now.
You know, they're just going to have to mirror those movements. Unfortunately, with this next ring closure, none of the gambles actually worked out for teams in the north and the south. It didn't pull into any of their directions. The worst possible outcome was that it centers around the middle, which it did exactly. And now we see the initial rotates, a good leap coming in from EBOS. They do find a compound of their own, but just ahead of them is actually Onyx Olympus, who have also secured their own compound.
So they do take that rotation somehow to Carousel, maybe fearing that Pharaoh rotation doesn't give them enough confidence. So they can run into Onyx Olympus. Aimgod gets picked back up pretty quickly. Does have a lot of medkit. They could distribute it if they want. Demon finding Luffy and Expand now forced to engage with GOW. No way to retrieve Luffy. Rama busy trying to heal back up. They need to take the high ground on the bridge. Get rid of whoever is on top there. The call is correct. They drop a launch pad. The relocation from Expand. What was the plan there from Expand?
I'm not 100% sure here, but it's good for GOW. At this point in time, I think they've got still 3 walk-in members, while it's just Rama who is left fighting for his life. The time turret even being deployed to force him into close counters, and Demon takes him out. GOW take no casualties from this fight.
What just happened? Expand. The call was not cohesive at all. So GOW gets a freebie. Esports finally comes under pressure. Found a better compound to work with. Instead of a huge rock, it is a tent, but still, last time they were in a congested area, Kagendra wiped the floor with them, and now they have to deal with Pharaoh. So they wall off one side of the tent, only one entrance to work with, but they don't just have Pharaoh to worry about. They have a Team Flash who's also around the corner.
Yeah, and I think that Pharaoh, they're not the kind to actually go in right up into your face, right? Especially against a team like PE. They're gonna take their time here. Good shots coming in from Limit, but those headshots are not connecting just yet. Some good neck shots there. Once again, hitting him square in the chest. BTR forced to move backwards here as the nades slowly creep up. The right side gets collapsible by Peanut and as well as On Fire. Peter quickly taking the space as soon as possible here. As we do see Kyung, he wants to hold them off, but does he realize that Peter is so nearby? He does. He quickly drops down a glue wall and boxes himself in as we see that Dixon, alongside with Koja, is trying to fight Limit and On Fire on their side. As you can see, Peter is keeping Kyung in place. The further Dix runs, the harder it is for him to stay close enough to heal him. Limit finally goes down, and now the 3 squadron goes, and they're trying to break through. Kyung ends up dying. Limit finds a headshot, and that's BTR down and out. What a prolonged fight here from Falcons.
And no one on Falcon side was lost, but can they survive the second wave of challenges? Seems like it's possible. Team Flash shows up. Peter needs help right now. Peter wants to help, and Death stares him in the face. A shot to the dome. Esports out in a spot off screen. On Fire now in danger. Peter brought back up, but ABCD gives him the EFG. And Limit is the only one left alive from long range. Somehow, Team Flash barely hanging on. ABCD needs help, couldn't get it. It's just Shinhan and Huang afar, but Limit is tanking the blue, and Team Flash will let it play out.
Yep, they're just letting this play out, and now the Riptide Rhythm is going to shred through at least 2 of those glue walls. Shinhan, unfortunately, already down on disease. Huang needs to pick him up, but unfortunately, there's just no safe area! Gets blown through! And that's going to be Flash getting taken out, and GOW takes out Limit too.
And Falcons, at least they've done significant damage overall to the standings and getting some extra points for themselves. The attention now turns over to the Indonesians. It's Evos against Onyx. Ray's gonna wall off that entrance, and now Onyx comes out from the side window. Ray's gonna turn the corner, takes on the challenge with the help of Coach Yu. That nade connects, and Putra will get an exchange onto Ray, but it's about to get messy. Aimgon needs help, could find it. Crime MKS ends up going down. It's Adam from the side. Rashak gets picked off, and it's Coach Yu against 2. Adam from behind, Zyron from in front. Coach Yu needs to make a decision. Decides to take them head on. Full health to work with, Trogon in hand. 9 glue walls and 11 medkits. Tries to really chip away at the health bars of the Onyx players. Finds a window that he can leap out of if he wants. Takes an inhaler, and right now will make the move. In fact, gaining some ground is Onyx in a rougher spot. Riptide Rhythm from 10 miles away. Kochio's back is exposed. 10 health to work with, and it's not enough.
Ends up blowing out, unfortunately. WAG in a supreme spot of their own in the high ground. Can hardly see the members, but still trying to put shots in Export, as well as Tikwe is able to find out members of GOW now, leaving the Pharaohs the only one as the gatekeepers. Both sides have been doing a perfect job and working in tandem, but now from partners to competitors, Pharaoh's gonna try their best as Tikwe opens up the space, takes out Cougar straight away. His jump gets blasted in the face by Cyrus. Tikwe is doing so much on the entry frag to find the eliminations and secure them the booyah.
Great stuff from WAG and Pharaoh towards the very end. There can only be one team that gets the booyah, and WAG ends up claiming it, but again, brilliant stuff. The last few minutes have been just a showcase of understanding of the teams and how the characters work. Pina, when they took on their challenger, when they took on their 4v4, Pina with the valiant dash against BTR, breaks the glue wall, makes a 180 turn right after mid-dash, and allowing Limit to come to life. But this last sequence, WAG had the numbers anyways. It was a 4v3 in their favor, and every single shot was made to count.
So good, so good. WAG with a big booyah, showing that Vietnam, they ain't playing around here in day number 2. A light has been lit, a fire has been lit, and they are using all of that heat and momentum to crush these games.
Yeah, good stuff from WAG. That's why, I mean, WAG and PE Sports, they've had an incredible day just on the overall standings itself. Last time we checked it after Game 5, they were both first and second. But right now, WAG really are showing us that they deserve the faith that people, have lost in them, right? This is day 2, of course, but in the long run, if this is what we get from WAG and they keep it up, I can see the next gen of Vietnamese superstars.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming that Vietnam was eventually going to get to this point, and they've been scaling it, slowly but surely to try and compete against some of the best. Yes, the formats have changed, yes, the strats, and more importantly, the meta has changed, but even so, it looks like they are adapting really, really well, considering that we missed out on them during EWC.
And I think that's the biggest goal. Even for Vietnam, if I remember, as a region as a whole, every international experience that they had, they've never really made it into kind of the higher echelons of the overall ranking, right? Their last appearance on the international stage at EWC, they didn't even make playoffs, if memory serves, and even for global, they didn't look too good. Again, sometimes people forget that Vietnam was one of the top 3 regions in SEA. I think now they definitely are, but the gap between second and third is quite big.
It's huge. It's really, really big. And I think by the end of, considering that was going to be our final map anyways, I can't wait to see what the total scores are going to start looking like for these squadrons, right? How much of a buffer does Group A eventually have to build up to start catching up? Those are the numbers that I'm very curious of.
And I would assume that, hold on, let me just quickly check this. So after the last round, overall standings, PE Sports is 168 points. I think WAG probably caught up, right? Because WAG was 156, so it's only 12 points behind them. We got Pharaoh close behind, 152 in third place. There's a chance that WAG overtakes PE, and maybe Pharaoh is close behind. So, real possibility.
Real possibility there. And considering the Falcons were having such a pretty good start for the first 3 maps, it's pretty surprising that they weren't able to catch up as much today like we were expecting it, right? We thought that maybe they were going to easily take that first spot, but unfortunately Vietnam put a full stop on that. It's like, nah, we'll give you second place at best.
Yeah, and well, the curse for Falcons continued this entire day. Unfortunately, got close to a booyah, but never a booyah. But in my books, still, I think the most consistent team of day number 2, right? Irregardless of what the overall standings will say later on, I think just for day 2 itself, Falcons most consistent just because of what they have delivered to us. Today, MVP, Limit. I think Limit has had a hot day.
I agree. I think that Limit definitely should be one of the nominees for it. He's had an incredibly hot day. His shots are ridiculous. You know when you're getting shot by Limit because even you're like, how? How did he hit that shot? Oh goodness, but I'm happy to see that PE Esports WAG are in really good spots, and I would make a certain argument for Flash as well, but let's quickly look at those highlights to relive the experience, right? Because when we're thinking Flash, we're thinking about surgical strikes, and there were a lot of moments where you get a little scared for who they're surgically striking. It looks pretty good until it's not.
And Team Flash, they definitely cleaned up their approach as the day went on. Right? They feel very shaky at the start. I mean, they even had rounds where they performed well, and then the next day they kind of just fall off a cliff. But it's always about how you finish. I think Team Flash found that idea, you know, like ABCD and Def, they had a pretty good second half of the day, not just in terms of putting up eliminations, but also being able to take some of these high-octane fights. But their comrades from Vietnam, WAG, were the ones that get the booyah, and the MVP is the Russian Tikui.
I mean, Tikwe, he's been huge. Oh my goodness. So huge for this squadron, right? He is fast. His reaction time to chase down his targets has always been on point. But I think now that they've got Tikwe in a position where he is able to not only chase down his opponents, but is allowed to be as aggressive as he wants to, especially being the tether, the other end of the tether to the Cassie. It's been doing a lot of wonders for the squadron, right? 5 eliminations, 5 knockdowns, putting up the highest amount of damage amongst this team, alongside Xbor, might I add.
Even Xbor has been. I'm surprised that, you know, the total amount of damage dealt was is lower than I expected overall. But then again, it was a pretty slow round for WAG until the very end, right? They had a helping hand from Pharaoh in the final sequence. So all of these damage were easily converted into eliminations. Even when you look at the combat they were running, this is one of the few rare instances where you see no Oscar in play. And it's just full on Tatsuya Cassie, the good old duo, plus that A124 and Skyler. So there's a lot of offense built into this package.
Exporting as well as PLS1, both of them are running a sniper rifle in their back pocket, right? Again, that's how they're getting a majority of their pickoffs in the first place, if they put a brass tacks on anybody passing within their line of sight. Now, as we see WAG is number 1, GOW actually takes the second spot, 10 eliminations, 8 placement points, and then Pharaoh at 9 and 9.
Overall, what a great day it is for Vietnam as a region. GOW, WAG, Team Flash right in top 4. PE Esports kind of on a slightly down low towards the very end, but again, as expected, Falcons is the most consistent team today with 107 points, followed by WAG with 100, and then PE with 80 points.
Yeah, PE unfortunately didn't do as well as they were doing in compared to game number 4 and as well as game number 5. Puts them down, allows WAG to take over, and Falcons, as you mentioned, so consistent overall. High amounts of eliminations, good amount of placement points, putting themselves over WAG by just 7.
Yeah, just 7, just a little bit. Wonder what the overall standings will say. PE Sports still first place. We say that WAG caught up, 156 points in total. Pharaoh 152. I mean, the top 3 definitely not what I expected, but EVOS making it to 4th place, and there's a big gap. Todak in 5th spot, and this is what's surprising, right? Like, Todak has a great day 1, but day 2 felt a bit slow for the Malaysian team, sadly.
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell, right? So it really boils down to what happened. Is it just the introduction of having Group C getting involved into here? Is it just an overall different play styles, or is there just not as much standard? Because again, I feel like the standards are a little wonky between Groups B and C, with so many of these early fights happening within the first round before we even predetermine what happens into the second ring. And in our knockout stage, our best predator for day number 2 is T Kui.
Yeah, 31 eliminations. Okay, that's amazing stuff from this man. We put a lot of emphasis on PLS1 and Explorer, but we neglect the front that holds itself well. It's not just Tikwe, it's LBT2 coming in 2nd in total eliminations. And then, of course, we got our Wonder Kid Rasha, followed by Dutz and Zensi. Just overall elimination out of 2 days, with WAG taking both 1st and 2nd.
I mean, so far, so good. So good for WAG. It looks like your predictions are leaning more into your favor than it is mine. Unfortunately for BTR, they weren't as hot as I thought they were going to be. I thought maybe on Solara, but to be fair, they got jumped on. But the team of the day has to go to the Falcons, man. The Falcons have been so consistent, even with the quick switch-ups between the matches, between their players to get everybody a good amount of play time. They're just all so good.
Just an extra $250, baby. You gotta farm that every single day. It's not easy to get team of the day, right? They had to be extremely consistent, but the consistency is rewarded at the very end. Slightly richer, and this is just the start of the group stage, so we got plenty more where that's coming from for teams that are eyeing for the extra, that extra commission, extra incentive from the league, and hopefully down the road more teams will step up to the occasion, because today I think it's a lot more closer than I would have imagined.
Yeah, which begs the question, was it because Group B was facing off against Group C that they struggled so much? How will Group A fare against Group C? Do we have like a rock, paper, scissors sort of dynamic going on? It's tough to tell.
It really is. I mean, we got BRU, we got RQ stepping back in tomorrow, so that is going to be extremely hot. If Falcons can put up a same level of performance again like they did today, I think we're going to have a heck of a day 3 on our hands. But for now, we got the players on standby, so let's see what else they have to say before we close out the day.
All right, survivors, that is it for match day 2. We have seen quite a bit of a explosion on the battlefield today, and right now I'm here with Aimgot from EVOS Divine, who has successfully secured 2 booyahs out of 6 games. Hello Aimgot!
Halo Kak.
How's it going? Gimana kabarnya hari ini? What an amazing spirit from all of his teammates. Gimana perasaannya ditepokin loh hari ini? Performa kamu oke banget. You've been performing really well today. How does it feel to be back on stage? After being the world winner, obviously.
Ya, sakit, masih sakit nih Kak, lagi sakit.
Still not feeling well, masih
Ya.
sakit. Apanya nih yang masih sakit? Kemarin kan katanya a bit of a slow start. Bisa dikatakan kemarin start kalian cukup slow, masih meraba-raba. Gimana kamu menilai performa kamu hari ini? Tapi sambil aku translate, kamu silakan dipikirkan jawabannya ya. So yesterday was a bit of a slow start for EVOS Divine. How would you rate your performance today? Or is there anything you'd like to say about today's progress for EVOS Divine?
Ya, lumayan lah, udah sedikit naik gitu. Ya.
Okay, so they're climbing step by step, trying to be at their top performance bit by bit. Apa sih kalau menurut kamu adjustment yang paling berasa perbedaannya di hari pertama sama hari kedua? Tadi aku sempat ngobrol sama Rasha dan katanya kemarin tuh masih agak kaget kan sama beberapa penampilan dari tim-tim tidak hanya di Indonesia tapi di tim lain. What was the biggest adjustment that you guys had to make going into today's match day?
Sebenarnya sama aja sih, dusun-dusun 2 kali juga.
Tapi ada tapinya nggak nih? Kan buyahnya 2 juga hari ini tapi.
Sama aja.
So he thinks that there isn't any much changes that the guys try to do on today's match day, but obviously they've gotten better because they've finally get a grip on what to do and what not to do, and the communications are also getting better on the second day compared to how they perform on the opening day, which is yesterday. Terakhir nih kalau gitu, ini kan kamu ditepokin sama teman-teman semua di sini. Artinya menyemangati satu sama lain. Adakah yang mau kamu sampaikan? Kenapa kamu malah gitu mukanya? Is there anything you'd like to say to your teammates as well as the other Indonesian teams that has been cheering for you today and wanting to see you back on your top performance?
Terima kasih dah ya. Terima kasih dah.
Just thank you. Nothing else, just thank you.
Ya, udah.
Just thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
ya.
jadi cuma terima kasih aja. Alright then, thank you so much Aimgot. Good luck for the rest of the competition. Can't wait to see you back on top. I know you'll get there, just slowly but sure. Good luck EVOS Divine and congratulations once again for winning the EWC. Alright, we're gonna go back to the casters now. Take it away, casters.
Thank you very much, Caroline and Aimgot. Well, they have already gotten there, and now it's about staying there. A slow start in day 1 converted into a better one, a better run in game 2. We heard from them also. Aimgot still not 100%, still a bit sick. But imagine if he is at 100%. He's going to be tearing up a storm even more, I'm sure.
Hey man, they said sake, which means one or two things. Either he's sick or he's in pain. We can't tell which one he's in just yet. But considering their performance, I think that right now, yes, it's a little bit of a slow start for sure. I do think they got really unlucky within like the first 3 maps at least. But so far, things have been going okay. It's a pretty steady start for EVOS Divine.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is. I mean, we've known EVOS Divine to not be a team that starts off incredibly hot. So let's see what more action that we get tomorrow. That's it for day number 2. It's Husky and Gideon Q. We'll see you guys for more action tomorrow. Goodbye.